Chapter 8:29. Ever since the Southern Heavenly Gate was established, the entire Heavenly Court was in a sealed state. But seriously speaking, apart from the Southern Heavenly Gate, there was actually another place for immortal gods to enter. That was above the Heavenly Court, where Jotion's star map covered the entire Heavenly Court. That was a place where the Heavenly Court's array formation could not reach. But this entrance could only be seen but not moved, because on Jotion's star map there was a second-era Khanate cardinal treasure guarding it. As a second-era Khanate cardinal treasure, Sanhua's sword could not unleash much of its strength without its master's control. But its grade was there, which could not be ignored. Coupled with the power of Jotion's star map, even an upper 3 true immortal would not be able to directly break through the seal of Jotion's star map under such circumstances. It could be said that, in terms of strength, Sanhua, who guarded Jotion's star map, was not far from a half-stepped Dao fruit. But there was a fatal limitation. That was that the shadow of Jotion's star map could not be moved at will. It could only be fixed in one position. Or else, if such a top battle force was pulled out, it would have already wiped out the 3 Void Demon clans. In such a huge heavenly court, only Qin Shujian could enter it without any obstruction. Emperor of Heaven. The long sword that stood quietly above Jotion's star map swayed slightly, and a cold voice sounded. Qin Shujian glanced at Sanhua and nodded his head lightly, which was considered a response. Then he took out the investiture of the gods and the stars stored in it. So many stars. Sanhua was slightly shocked when he saw the stars taken out. Jotion's star map. As the name implied, it contained the number of Jotion's stars. But one thing to understand was, the number of Jotion's stars wasn't just 365. Strictly speaking, the number of Jotion's stars implied infinity. However, the most important and basic thing was to gather 365 of them. The number of stars that Qin Shujian took out was no longer just 365. Instead, it had exceeded the original number by quite a bit, together with the stars that already existed. In this way, there were even more of them. Sanhua did not expect Qin Shujian to be able to gather so many stars so quickly. He didn't even doubt it. Had the other party emptied the entire outer realm of space? Qin Shujian ignored Sanhua's shock. With a thought, the seal on the star instantly shattered. The seal was broken. Xing Chen's true form was revealed. More than 400 stars gathered together was enough to engulf the entire heavenly court. The boundless pressure crushed down from the void, as if the sky was about to crumble. Even the immortals of the celestial court were under tremendous pressure. At this moment, all the experts of the celestial court raised their heads to look at the top of their heads. The light of the sun and moon had already dimmed. Only countless stars were competing to shine. Moreover, they could see that those stars were falling towards the celestial court at a terrifying speed. The momentum of the fall was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The expressions of many immortals changed. It was true that they could seal the stars, but it was completely different from directly resisting the momentum of the falling stars. Moreover, the falling stars were not as simple as one. More than 400 stars fell at the same time. Even an existence as strong as Shao Qingfeng would have to retreat. In short, if the stars really fell completely, the celestial court would definitely be destroyed. Not only would the celestial court be destroyed, but even the 4 continents would suffer a great impact. The number of casualties of the 10,000 races would all depend on fate. Just as the gods were in shock and uncertainty, Qin Shujian stretched out his hand, and a vast amount of true essence gushed out from his palm. In an instant, all the falling stars were enveloped within it. The weight of more than 400 stars was already immeasurable. But even so, he could still rely on his own strength to support all the stars. The stars supported him. His divine consciousness spread out crazily. Under the sweep of his divine consciousness, the stars were forcibly sealed and shrunk. Not long after, the dark sky became bright again. Qin Shujian looked at the stars in front of him that had shrunk countless times. With a thought, He sent all the stars into Zhou Tian's star map. Boom! More than 400 stars were all merged into the shadow of Zhou Tian's star map. Vast and surging power surged endlessly, causing the shadow of Zhou Tian's star map to surge up and down like waves.
Then,
stars were lit up one by one. The shadow of Zhou Tian's star map, which was already resplendent, became extremely dazzling at this moment. This dazzling light not only fell into the eyes of the gods of the celestial court, but also into the eyes of the 10,000 races of the 4 continents. That light, it seemed unstoppable. No matter where it existed, it could be seen clearly. In the next moment, countless pillars of light bombarded the celestial court from above those stars. A large number of pillars of light converged and descended, transforming into a vast galaxy that soaked the entire celestial court.
not only that,
There was also a galaxy that broke through the restraints of the array and flowed into the astral wind layer.
soon,
This vast galaxy power broke through the seal of the celestial court and the astral wind layer and fell into the 4 continents. At this moment, all the living beings of the 10,000 races felt the pores of their bodies open. Endless galaxy power drilled into their bodies through the pores, constantly transforming and cleansing their bodies. This rich power, it completely surpassed the original power of the stars. Although the previous power was also extremely rich, there was no difference without comparison. Compared to the current situation, the original power of the stars was more than several times weaker. After Zhou Tian's star map completed the basic 365 stars, the power extracted was more than several times stronger than when the basic requirements were not completed. In addition, the number of stars he had now far exceeded the number of 365. One could imagine just how dense would the power of the Milky Way be when it came crashing down. When this power came crashing down, all the celestial cultivators instinctively sat down cross-legged and frantically absorbed it. Many of them even broke through and reached a higher level. Even perfected immortals. When they felt this vast and surging power, their expressions completely changed. In the territory of the 9-headed dog clan, Zhu Chen, who had only become an immortal for a few years, suddenly had a huge change in expression when he felt the galaxy power. What rich star power! Why did it suddenly become so strong? He was puzzled. He was in a state of confusion about what was happening now. But after the shock, Zhu Chen's face was filled with ecstasy. The star power becoming rich was a good thing. He was confident that in such an environment, he could break through to the 2nd-level immortal realm in a short time. Chapter 830. Today is the day to break through to the true immortal realm. In the Qianyuan sacred ground, Qin Yuanbai looked at the falling star power with a heroic expression. Although he had become one of the heavenly generals, it didn't mean that he needed to be stationed in the heavenly court all year round. On the contrary, he didn't spend much time in the heavenly court. He only needed to go to the heavenly court when it was his turn. Most of the time, he could arrange it on his own. He could enter the Zhou Tian Ward General List and pass the assessment to become a heavenly general of the heavenly court. There was no doubt about Qin Yuanbai's strength. Long ago, he was qualified to break through to the true immortal realm. But because of the announcement of the 3 major systems, he had been suppressing his realm and not breaking through. As the current sacred lord of the Qianyuan sacred ground, Qin Yuanbai still had some goals. If the 3 major systems hadn't been announced, then there wouldn't be a big problem for him to reach the Tao with the rules. But with the announcement of the 3 major systems, now everyone knew that reaching the Tao with the rules was the weakest way to reach the Tao. Unless one wasn't talented enough or had an ordinary foundation, they would rely on the rules to reach the Tao. But anyone with a bit of ambition, let's not talk about the Tao of heaven, but they also had to walk the physical sanctification system. In fact, although the Tao of heaven and earth had a reputation, no one had ever seen anyone use this method to reach the Tao. Although all the clans were guessing, the Emperor of Heaven should have the Tao of heaven and earth, but there wasn't much evidence. Therefore, the physical sanctification system was the mainstream. Qin Yuanbai had been tempering his physical body and constantly strengthening his foundation in order to wait for an opportunity to smoothly transcend the tribulation and become an immortal. Now that the star power had undergone a qualitative change, he felt an opportunity. His body didn't move. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared.
Soon.
The mother stream surged. Qin Yuanbai walked out of the mother stream, and a long river of laws spread out under his feet like a painting. It was a huge movement. It also attracted the attention of other cultivators in the Qianyuan sacred ground. The sacred lord is going to break through to the true immortal realm. It seems that another true immortal is going to be born in the Qianyuan sacred ground. I wonder if the sacred lord intends to reach the Tao with the rules or walk the physical sanctification system. Is there even a need to ask? The divine lord must have walked the path of physical sanctification, otherwise he would have broken through long ago. Many cultivators were discussing. In their opinion, Qin Yuanbai had long had the qualifications to break through to the true immortal realm, but he had always been suppressing his realm. If he were to make a breakthrough now, he would definitely walk the path of the physical sanctification system. As long as he succeeded in breaking through, the Qianyuan sacred ground would have a second true immortal. As for the first true immortal, needless to say, everyone knew that he was referring to Qin Shujian. Although Qin Shujian had become the Emperor of Heaven, in a sense, he had left the Qianyuan sacred ground. But for the people of the Qianyuan sacred ground, no matter what, Qin Shujian was the founder of the Qianyuan sacred ground. Even if he was already the Emperor of Heaven, he was still a member of the Qianyuan sacred ground. Despite such a statement, Qianyuan sacred ground seemed to be trying to flatter themselves. However, the others had no way to refute him. When Qin Yuanbai broke through, he saw the mother stream of precepts tremble again. After that, there were other experts who stepped on the long river of precepts and walked out. Obviously, this time, the transformation of the power of the stars had allowed some powerhouses who had been in seclusion to begin the process of self-breakthrough. Yuan sect. Several elders gathered together. If Qin Yuanbai succeeds in breaking through, the position of the sacred lord should be as stable as Mount Tai. Su Yuanming looked at the person who had opened up the precepts battlefield with a sneer on his face. Zheng Feng's expression was calm. The position of the sacred lord is stable, but it doesn't mean anything. Now, the number of powerhouses born in the Nine Palace sect is limited. In my opinion, there is no successor. Of course, he was exaggerating when he said that there was no successor. But compared to the other sects, the Nine Palace sect was nothing. Especially with the support of Qin Yuanbai, the number of powerhouses the Nine Palace sect had was a certain gap compared to the other sections. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for Qin Yuanbai, the status of the Nine Palace sect in the Qianyuan sacred ground would have plummeted. After speaking, Zheng Feng turned his head to look at Niu Feng and the others and said with a faint smile, "Speaking of which, you should be breaking through to the true immortal realm soon. It's not that easy to break through." Niu Feng shook his head and sighed. The Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture is indeed extraordinary, but the subsequent breakthroughs are also extremely dangerous. If it weren't for the fact that the power of the stars has become stronger, I wouldn't have been able to cultivate to the current realm even if I were given a few more decades. From the looks of it, it will take at least 1 or 2 years for me to break through.
In the past,
breaking through to the true immortal realm in 1 or 2 years was undoubtedly extremely fast. Even if this time was multiplied by dozens or hundreds of times, it would still be enough to make people ecstatic. But one thing was clear. Today was different from the past. The current world was no longer the world of the past. Powerful figures could barely be regarded as high-end combat power. Only true immortals were qualified to suppress a sect or a region. No matter how strong a celestial being was, they were only celestials. In the face of a true immortal, celestials were like ants. It was extremely difficult for a celestial being to defeat an immortal. Especially now that the powerhouses who had become immortals had begun to walk the physical sanctification system, their strength was even more terrifying after becoming immortals. The difficulty of a celestial being to defeat an immortal had also increased correspondingly. looking at the 4 major continents. Currently, there wasn't a single powerhouse who could defeat an immortal. Niu Feng sighed, then suddenly smiled and said, "The ones who are really close to breaking through to the true immortal realm should be in the heavenly court." "That's true." Zheng Feng nodded. He knew who Niu Feng was talking about. The strongest people in the Origin sect weren't the few elders, but Test Jianfeng and Ningbo, who were in the heavenly court. The former naturally didn't need to be mentioned. Even in the past, his strength was one of the best in the Origin sect. Although the latter hadn't cultivated for long, as Qin Shujian's disciple, even the slightest benefit was enough for him to benefit endlessly. Not to mention, Ningbo still had a deity position, and others couldn't compare to him. At the mention of Test Jianfeng and Ningbo, Su Yuanming facepalmed. "I don't know where Elder Ergo went. There hasn't been any news from him for so long. If he's still around, he should be one of the heavenly generals." He was the most helpless when it came to Zhang Ergo. Qin Shujian had taken a fancy to him for no reason and then nurtured him vigorously. However, the facts also proved that Zhang Ergo was indeed very talented. However, although he was talented, he didn't have any discipline. Just like now. He had been missing for so many years, and there was no news at all. If it weren't for the fact that the soul lamp he left in the sect hadn't been extinguished, Su Yuanming would have thought that he had died in some corner. "I heard that someone saw him in the Sea of Death, but there's no way to confirm it. There's a ferocious beast riot in the Sea of Death now. The possibility of Elder Ergo being there isn't high." Su Yuanming shook his head slightly. At this moment, Qin Yuanbai's breakthrough had reached a critical moment. Chapter 8:31. After taking out the investiture of the gods. Qin Shujian released all the sealed star cores in the investiture of the gods. 373 star cores are enough to refine Zhou Tian's star map. As long as he had 365 star cores, he could refine Zhou Tian's star map. This was the most basic requirement. Now that he had 373 star cores, refining Zhou Tian's star map was naturally not a problem. First, he took out all the stars. Qin Shujian broke the seals on them.
Suddenly,
more than 300 star cores emitted a dense light.
Then,
he took out all the sealed star beast corpses in the investiture of the gods. There were a total of 13 star beast corpses that were 1 million feet long. Each star beast corpse emitted an aura that could crush the sky. Such an aura alone was enough to crush cultivators below the true immortal realm into powder. However, such a powerful pressure was useless in front of Qin Shujian.
It was as easy as pie.
Qin Shujian dug out the star cores in all the star beasts' bodies.
Then,
he made a gesture with both hands. Surging vital essence swept out in all directions with him as the center. The power of the void within 1,000,000 miles was all drawn over by the gesture. In the end, a wisp of fire was born from nothing and swallowed all the star beast corpses. To refine Zhou Tian's star map, although it used 365 star cores as the foundation. In addition to the star cores, other materials were also needed to assist. Without a doubt, the star beast corpses were the best materials. After all, star beasts existed in the void and fed on stars. Their corpses had been tempered to a terrifying level. Such corpses, they were comparable to many powerful supreme treasures and even surpassed them to a certain extent. Therefore, using the corpses of these star beasts as the foundation was much more useful than Qin Shujian spending a lot of effort to find other materials. No matter how strong the other materials were, there was a limit to how strong they were. The weakest star beast corpses in front of him were at least 3 middle true immortals, and there were even 3 upper true immortals. Such a foundation, it could already be said to be shocking. All the energy within 1,000,000 miles of the void was pulled over by Qin Shujian. This time, he didn't use the Vermilion Bird Emperor's innate divine fire because there was no need for it. Unlike the refining of the Heavenly Mirror and the Tiandi Bell, the level of Zhou Tian's star map was simply incomparable. This was because it was a supreme treasure that could deal with a Dao fruit at its peak. Unless the Vermilion Bird Emperor's godly fire could reach the level of a 9th level immortal, he wouldn't be qualified to participate in the creation of this treasure. Therefore, Qin Shu Jian was very straightforward. He did not use the innate godly fire to refine it. Instead, he used the methods of the Third Era to head to the outer realm and absorb the energy of the endless void to refine it. Although the innate godly fire was indeed the strongest fire, it had yet to reach the pinnacle, so it wasn't really that strong. There was the power of the endless void as a guide. He was confident that he could refine Zhou Tian's star map. At this moment, the dark fire had already swallowed all the star beasts. Qin Shu Jian looked calm and kept changing hand seals. His immortal will was also tightly locked, not daring to relax for even a moment. The outer realm was vast and boundless. The change in 1,000,000 miles of area didn't affect many places. In addition, Qin Shu Jian had set up an array as a cover, which even blocked the fluctuation. Therefore, no matter how big the commotion was, it didn't attract the attention of others. In fact, there were demons and cultivators of the 10,000 races that passed by this place by chance, but they didn't notice that there was a supreme expert refining a supreme treasure here at all. In the depths of the outer realm, Mo Xiaolua turned into a black shadow and crawled, still recovering from his injuries. The flesh and blood of the creatures that he had plundered in the last battle had almost been used up. The flesh and blood of those creatures were piled up in the void like a pool of blood. Then, an endless black shadow covered it like a terrifying beast was swallowing it. All of a sudden, a powerful god-destroying gale blew through the void. The black shadow shook and completely swallowed the remaining flesh and blood of the creatures. After a long time, the black shadow dissipated and turned back into a human body. The flesh and blood of the creatures of the vast 1,000 domains is really powerful. It actually healed my injuries completely. There was a hint of scarlet in Mo Xiaolua's dark eyes. The previous battle with Qin Shu Jian had caused him serious injuries. Now, after swallowing the flesh and blood of many creatures, all the injuries on his body had been completely healed. Not only that, Mo Xiaolua also felt that his cultivation had improved a little. If I can break into the vast 1,000 domains and plunder the origin of heaven and earth there, I can definitely break through to the sacred demon realm. Unfortunately, it's too difficult. Mo Xiaolua's gloomy voice sounded in the void. From the extent of swallowing the flesh and blood of the creatures, he could understand how powerful the origin of the vast 1,000 domains was. In fact, any creature of the vast 1,000 domains had the origin of heaven and earth in them. Because they were born in heaven and earth, they naturally had the origin of heaven and earth. But the difference was the origin of heaven and earth in the creatures was too weak. Compared to the true origin of heaven and earth, it was simply incomparable. However, even such a weak origin of heaven and earth could heal the injuries of a top demon emperor and make a certain improvement in his realm. Based on this alone, Mo Xiaolua could understand how powerful the origin of heaven and earth of the vast 1,000 domains was. If it were in the past, he would have driven the army of the Mo Xiaolua clan to attack the vast 1,000 domains. But now he could not. The strength of the heavenly court was too strong. Mo Xiaolua had to admit that there was a certain gap between the strength of the void demons and the heavenly court. If they were to launch a large-scale attack, the 3 major clans of the void demons would most likely suffer heavy losses. And Mo Xiaolua thought of Qin Shu Jian, as well as Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali, who attacked at the critical moment, and there was deep fear in his eyes. The strength of the Emperor of Heaven naturally did not need to be mentioned. But the strength of the 2 people who attacked at the last moment was also extraordinary. More importantly, the fact that the other party could successfully launch a sneak attack was extraordinary in itself. Especially that shocking blade, Mo Xiaolua still had a kind of illusion of fear. That blade. If it had slashed his body, then his injuries would not have healed so easily. Even someone as strong as Bok Duo was seriously injured by that blade. Mo Xiaolua was confident in his strength, but he also understood that there was a gap between him and Bok Duo. Bok Duo was still fine. If it had been him, he was afraid that his end would be even more miserable. I originally thought that after the ancient times were destroyed, the the strength of the vast thousand domains would decline to the extreme. I never thought that they would still be able to turn things around at the critical moment. Emo Shalua thought of something, and his eyes became even colder. Chapter 8:32. After taking out the investiture of the gods, Qin Shu Jian released all the sealed star cores in the investiture of the gods. 373 star cores are enough to refine Zhou Tian's star map. As long as he had 365 star cores, he could refine Zhou Tian's star map. This was the most basic requirement. Now that he had 373 star cores, refining Zhou Tian's star map was naturally not a problem. First, he took out all the stars. Qin Shu Jian broke the seals on them.
Suddenly,
more than 300 star cores emitted a dense light.
Then,
he took out all the sealed star beast corpses in the investiture of the gods. There were a total of 13 star beast corpses that were 1 million feet long. Each star beast corpse emitted an aura that could crush the sky. Such an aura alone was enough to crush cultivators below the true immortal realm into powder. However, such a powerful pressure was useless in front of Qin Shu Jian.
It was as easy as pie.
Qin Shu Jian dug out the star cores in all the star beast bodies.
Then,
he made a gesture with both hands. Surging vital essence swept out in all directions with him as the center. The power of the void within 1,000,000 miles was all drawn over by the gesture. In the end, a wisp of fire was born from nothing and swallowed all the star beast corpses. To refine Zhou Tian's star map, although it used 365 star cores as the foundation. In addition to the star cores, other materials were also needed to assist. Without a doubt, the star beast corpses were the best materials. After all, star beasts existed in the void and fed on stars. Their corpses had been tempered to a terrifying level. Such corpses, they were comparable to many powerful supreme treasures, and even surpassed them to a certain extent. Therefore, using the corpses of these star beasts as the foundation was much more useful than Qin Shu Jian spending a lot of effort to find other materials. No matter how strong the other materials were, there was a limit to how strong they were. The weakest star beast corpses in front of him were at least 3 middle true immortals, and there were even 3 upper true immortals. Such a foundation, it could already be said to be shocking. All the energy within 1,000,000 miles of the void was pulled over by Qin Shu Jian. This time, he didn't use the Vermilion Bird Emperor's innate divine fire because there was no need for it. Unlike the refining of the Heavenly Mirror and the Tianyi Bell, the level of Zhou Tian's star map was simply incomparable. This was because it was a supreme treasure that could deal with Tao fruits at its peak. Unless the Vermilion Bird Emperor's godly fire could reach the level of a 9th level immortal, he wouldn't be qualified to participate in the creation of this treasure. Therefore, Qin Shu Jian was very straightforward. He did not use the innate godly fire to refine it. Instead, he used the methods of the Third Era to head to the outer realm and absorb the energy of the endless void to refine it. Although the innate godly fire was indeed the strongest fire, it had yet to reach the pinnacle, so it wasn't really that strong. It was guided by the endless power of the void. He was confident that he could refine Zhou Tian's star map. At this moment, the dark fire had already swallowed all the star beasts. Qin Shu Jian looked calm and kept changing hand seals. His immortal will was also tightly locked, not daring to relax for even a moment. The outer realm was vast and boundless. The change in 1,000,000 miles of area didn't affect many places. In addition, Qin Shu Jian had set up an array as a cover, which even blocked the fluctuation. Therefore, no matter how big the commotion was, it didn't attract the attention of others. In fact, there were demons and cultivators of the 10,000 races that passed by this place by chance, but they didn't notice that there was a supreme expert refining a supreme treasure here at all. In the depths of the outer realm, Emo Xiaolua turned into a black shadow and crawled, still recovering from his injuries. The flesh and blood of the creatures that he had plundered in the last battle had almost been used up. The flesh and blood of those creatures were piled up in the void like a pool of blood. Then, An endless black shadow covered it, as if a terrifying giant beast was swallowing it. All of a sudden, a powerful god-destroying gale blew across the void. The black shadow shook and completely swallowed the remaining flesh and blood of the creatures. After a long time, the black shadow dissipated and turned back into a human body. The flesh and blood of the creatures of the vast thousand domains is really powerful. It actually healed my injuries completely. There was a hint of scarlet in Mo Xiaoluo's dark eyes. The previous battle with Qin Shu Jian had caused him serious injuries. Now, after swallowing the flesh and blood of many creatures, all the injuries on his body had been completely healed.
Not only that,
Mo Xiaoluo also felt that his cultivation had improved a little. If I can attack the vast thousand domains and plunder the origin of heaven and earth there, I can definitely break through to the sacred demon realm. Unfortunately, it's too difficult. Mo Xiaoluo's gloomy voice sounded in the void. From the extent of swallowing the flesh and blood of the creatures, he could understand how powerful the origin of the vast thousand domains was. In fact, any creature of the vast thousand domains had the origin of heaven and earth in them. Because the creatures were born in heaven and earth, they naturally had the origin of heaven and earth. But the difference was the origin of heaven and earth in the creatures was too weak. Compared to the true origin of heaven and earth, there was no comparison at all. However, even such a weak origin of heaven and earth could heal the injuries of a top demon emperor and make a certain improvement in his realm. With this alone, Mo Xiaoluo could understand how powerful the origin of heaven and earth of the vast thousand domains was. If it were in the past, he would have already mobilized the army of the Mo Xiaoluo clan to attack the vast thousand domains. But now he could not. The strength of the heavenly court was too strong. Mo Xiaoluo had to admit that there was a certain gap between the strength of the void demons and the heavenly court. If they were to launch a large-scale attack, the three major clans of the void demons would most likely suffer heavy losses. Moreover, Mo Xiaoluo thought of Qin Shu Jian, as well as Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali, who attacked at the critical moment, and there was a deep fear in his eyes. The strength of the Emperor of Heaven naturally did not need to be mentioned. But the strength of the two who launched the sneak attack at the end was also extraordinary. More importantly, the fact that the other party could successfully launch a sneak attack was extraordinary in itself. Especially that shocking blade. Mo Xiaoluo still had a kind of illusion of fear. That blade. If it had slashed his body, then his injuries would not have healed so easily. Even someone as strong as Bok Duo was seriously injured by that blade. Mo Xiaoluo was confident in his strength, but he also understood that there was a gap between him and Bok Duo. Bok Duo was still fine. If it had been him, he was afraid that his end would have been even more miserable. I originally thought that after the ancient times were destroyed, the strength of the vast thousand domains would decline to the extreme. I never thought that they would still be able to turn things around at the critical moment. Mo Xiaoluo thought of something, and his eyes became even colder. Chapter 8:33. While he was swimming in the river of time, Mo Xiaoluo had peeped into the past of the vast thousand domains. However, the past they saw was completely different from the actual great thousand realms. He did not expect the vast thousand domains, which did not have any true immortals, would suddenly become so powerful. He could not figure it out. He could not figure it out at all. Until now, Mo Xiaoluo was still in a state of confusion. However, he could vaguely guess. The changes of the vast thousand domains were definitely related to the Emperor of Heaven. Mo Xiaoluo thought of Qin Shu Jian, and the killing intent in his heart surged. As his killing intent rose, the surrounding void also became austere. Right now, there is no hope to compete for the origin of the vast thousand domains. I can only wait for the arrival of the demon abyss, and then find an opportunity. Mo Xiaoluo had no intention of attacking the vast thousand domains. At least, there was no intention of attacking now. There was no other way. The strength of the vast thousand domains was too strong, and the three clans had no chance of winning at all. If the Boyle clan had not been destroyed, then it would have been fine. thinking of the Boyle clan that died for no reason. Mo Xiaolua's eyes flickered, but he did not feel much. Death was death. It could only be said that the other party was unlucky. The vast 1,000 domains did not open earlier or later, but only after the Boyle clan was destroyed. If the barrier of heaven and earth had been opened earlier, then the blood sacrifice would not have been necessary. Soon, the matter of the Boyle clan was thrown to the back of Mo Xiaolua's mind. Now he was already planning to change his way of thinking. Since the vast 1,000 domains and the demon abyss were both very strong, then he would let both sides suffer. When that time came, Mo Xiaolua suddenly attacked. The possibility of success was very high. As long as he obtained the origin of the vast 1,000 domains, he was confident that he could break through to the sacred demon realm. Once he succeeded, who in the outer void would be his opponent? At that time, that was the true eternity. Suddenly, Mo Xiaolua looked in one direction. He saw that somewhere in the outer void there was a black and red pool. Countless vengeful spirits were wailing in the pool, as if there were gods and demons roaring. An extremely evil aura was brewing there, as if it would break through the shackles of the pool at any time. At this moment, there were countless bubbles in the pool, as if something was breathing. Not long after, the black-red pond water instantly became agitated. A huge whirlpool rose up from there, causing a huge tremor. When the whirlpool appeared, a boundless black shadow rose from the bottom of the pool and quickly covered the entire pool. The shadow expanded and spread. When it reached its limit, it suddenly shrank back and revealed its human form.
Boom.
The moment his body condensed, an earth-shattering aura rose from his body and spread out in all directions, shaking the void and cracking it. Is this the realm of the demon emperors? Ively was intoxicated. He felt the surging power in his body. He had the illusion that billions of void spaces were under his control. The demon emperor. This was the power of a devil emperor. Even though he used to be a top demon king, he didn't really understand how big the gap between them was until he broke through to the demon emperor realm. As a demon emperor, Ively had a premonition that if he wanted to kill his former self, it would not take him much effort at all. Such a transformation. It could be said to be terrifying. Waking up from his surging power, Ively lowered his head to look at the devil's pool below. His eyes were burning. Without entering the devil's pool, one would never be able to understand how powerful it was. He had stayed at the top demon king realm for so many years, but after entering the devil's pool, he only used a short time to break through. The surging energy contained within was truly astonishing to the extreme. If he could stay in the devil's pool, Ively was confident that he could reach the top demon emperor realm within 100 years. However, he knew
He could only think about it.
the devil's pool's power came from the void. After he absorbed and broke through, he had consumed some. If he continued to absorb, he could indeed break through. However, the devil's pool's power would be exhausted. The demon emperor would definitely not agree to this. All of a sudden, Ively's heart was alarmed. When he tilted his head to look in one direction, he happened to meet a pair of dark eyes. That pair of eyes seemed to come from the deepest part of the darkness. Just a simple look was enough to make Ively tremble. The joy of breaking through disappeared. Ively greets the demon emperor. Ively didn't hesitate and immediately bowed. After he broke through to the demon emperor realm, there was no one else who could give him such pressure except for the demon emperor. Mo Xiaolua said indifferently, "Since you've broken through, then leave the devil's pool. There are things in the clan that the demon emperor needs to deal with. It's better to return early." "Yes, sir." Ively didn't dare to refuse. By the time he raised his head, he realized that the two beams of light had disappeared without him noticing. At this moment, Ively finally dared to stand up. His nervous heart slowly calmed down. Demon Emperor. Thinking of that pair of eyes that terrified him, his heart couldn't help but tremble. He thought that after breaking through to the Demon Emperor realm, he could truly control his own life.
But now,
Ively was silent. The Demon Emperor was strong, but it was only relatively speaking. Compared to the Demon Emperor, there was no comparison.
to be honest,
Before this, Ively had never met the Demon Emperor. First, it was because the Demon Emperor was always sleeping. Second, his level wasn't high enough. A small demon king didn't have the qualifications to talk to the Demon Emperor.
Until now.
Ively was the one who truly came into contact with the existence of the Demon Emperor. He also understood how big the gap between their strength was. The joy of breaking through to the Demon Emperor realm and the illusion of being invincible had disappeared without a trace after talking with Emo Xiaolua. After taking a deep look at the Devil's Pool, he flew away. Emo Xiaolua had spoken. Although Ively coveted the Devil's Pool, he didn't dare to enter it without permission. Now, the first thing he had to do was to return to the Emo Xiaolua clan. Other things, they could all be put aside for later. The Devil's Pool wasn't too far away from the Emo Xiaolua clan's territory. Ively only used half a day to return to the Emo Xiaolua clan's territory. When he entered the continent, that familiar aura caused some different emotions to surge up in him. He didn't stop at all. A leaf flew into the air and directly entered the main hall. At this moment, there was only one Demon Emperor, Longfellow, in the main hall. As Ively entered, Longfellow also opened his eyes and saw the visitor before him, who was shrouded in darkness. Chapter 834. Ively. Longfellow's expression was a little uncertain. After breaking through to become a Demon Emperor, his temperament and other aspects had changed greatly. At that moment, he couldn't recognize him. Seeing Longfellow speak, Ively smiled faintly. Demon Emperor Longfellow, long time no see. He was different from when he faced the Demon Emperors in the past. Now, he had enough confidence to face Longfellow directly. Both of them were Demon Emperors. Even if the other party was older and more powerful, that was all there was to it. Ively felt that even if he was slightly weaker than Ively, it wouldn't be too much. Under such circumstances, he had enough confidence. Hearing this, Longfellow finally confirmed Ively's identity. So, you've successfully broken through. That's good. Now, my Moxiaro clan has another Demon Emperor. May I know where Yervis is? Ively looked around the hall, his tone filled with curiosity. He's in seclusion. Longfellow frowned imperceptibly, but he still answered. Ively nodded slightly. Then he walked straight to the center of the hall and sat down. Longfellow frowned again. That's Yervis's seat. Your seat should be there. Then he pointed to the seat opposite him. That was Troy's seat. But now, Troy had fallen. Naturally, Ively, who had broken through to become a Demon Emperor, should be in charge.
To this.
Ively didn't care. We're all Demon Emperors. Why is there a need to differentiate so clearly? These seats have never been fixed. Who can sit and who can't? Of course, Longfellow didn't say anything. An indifferent voice came from all directions. The two Demon Emperors turned their heads instinctively, looking outside the hall. At this moment, someone was walking over slowly. It looked like a normal scene, but in the eyes of the two Demon Emperors, it felt like the other party was walking in the darkness, swallowing their vision. Such a change greatly shocked the two Demon Emperors, especially Longfellow.
He seemed to have thought of something.
Then, he revealed a look of disbelief. You've broken through. The breakthrough that Longfellow mentioned was naturally not a simple one. Moreover, what kind of breakthrough could make a top Demon Emperor reveal such an expression? Any smart person could guess it. Ively, who had just sat down, stiffened his face. He looked at Yervis, who was walking in front of him, and a huge sense of terror welled up in his heart. That feeling. Ively almost thought that he was still the Demon King in the past, and Yervis was still the high and mighty Demon King.
No.
Impossible. Ively roared madly in his heart. He didn't believe that Yervis's strength would be so terrifying. They were both Demon Emperors, so why was the other party so powerful? Ively was in disbelief. In his heart, he was roaring and howling, but at the same time, he was terrified. Yervis looked at him quietly, as if the place where he stood was the center of the darkness that could drown everything. On the other side, Longfellow stood up from his seat and looked at the side of Yervis's face. The shock in his heart made him speechless. At this moment, Boundless darkness rose from Yervis's body and spread towards Eveli. He watched the darkness corrode. Eveli just sat in his seat without moving. He looked like he wouldn't change his expression even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. But if one looked at him seriously, one could see how intense the fear in this new demon king's heart was. When the darkness spread, Eveli felt that his divine soul was frozen. Not to mention resisting, he didn't even have the right to stand up. At this moment, he understood. Yervis was definitely not as simple as a demon king. Combined with what Longfellow had said earlier, he came to a conclusion that even he found hard to believe. "You are a demon, Emperor." Eveli used all his strength and spat out a few words with difficulty. His eyes were filled with fear. Demon Emperor. He had already broken through to the Demon Emperor realm. For countless years, there were only 4 demon emperors in the Void Demons. After Boyle died, there were only 3 demon emperors left. But now, Yervis had broken through. This was something that Eveli didn't expect. Yervis's expression was still indifferent. He looked at Eveli as if he was looking at a dead person. Anyone can sit on this seat, but whether or not you can sit on it steadily depends on your own strength. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. If you don't have enough strength, don't try to touch things that you shouldn't touch. Otherwise, you might get yourself killed. While speaking, the darkness was about to swallow Eveli. The boundless darkness was like vines that climbed onto the throne. Half of Eveli's body was covered by the vines. Only his head was left. According to this trend, Eveli would be completely swallowed in no time. Longfellow saw this and opened his mouth. But in the end, he didn't say anything. He understood Yervis's character. Eveli's actions just now were a little too arrogant. Now that he had broken through to the Demon Emperor realm and wanted to kill him, Longfellow had nothing to say. Of course, the main reason was because Yervis had broken through to the Demon Emperor realm. He didn't dare to say anything. After all, he was just a demon king. No matter how strong a demon king was, there was still a huge gap between him and the Demon Emperor. If he angered Yervis, even with their previous friendship, Longfellow felt that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. Suddenly, the dark vines shattered inch by inch. Eveli, who was about to be swallowed, was like a drowning person who was saved. He sat on the throne and panted heavily. There was fear in his eyes and also the illusion that he had just survived a disaster. When Eveli was saved, darkness fell. It was unknown when Mo Shelowa had already appeared in the hall. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the scene in the hall quietly. Seeing this, Eveli hurriedly stood up from the throne and bowed to Mo Shelowa together with Longfellow. Demon Emperor. Yervis slowly turned around and saw Mo Shelowa standing there with a faint smile on his face. Demon Emperor. It was a simple greeting, but he didn't bow like he did before. Mo Shelowa's face was calm. He wasn't angry because of this. I didn't expect you to have broken through to the Demon Emperor realm. It's something worth celebrating. Demon Emperor, you flatter me. Yervis smiled faintly. I just broke through. If I want to compare with Demon Emperor, I'm still far behind. Chapter 8:35. If it was in the past, you wouldn't have the guts to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Compared with the past, you've made great progress. Mo Shelowa said indifferently. After he finished speaking, his expression suddenly became cold and stern. But what surprised me was that you dared to kill the Demon Emperor in the clan without permission. Could it be that after breaking through to the Demon Emperor, you don't put me in your eyes? After saying that, the scene had become dignified. Longfellow's face suddenly changed. Mo Shelowa was obviously angry. If the 2 Demon Emperors really fought, it would be a catastrophe for the clan. Not to mention the other clansmen. Even he himself was not sure if he could protect himself under the aftermath of such a strong battle. Just when Longfellow's mind was trembling, Yervis's face did not change at all. Demon Emperor, you're too serious. I'm just teaching him a lesson. No matter what, I'm the emperor of the Mo Shelowa clan. Eveli is just a new Demon Emperor. What qualifications does he have to snatch my position? This lesson is just to let him understand himself. Even if the Demon Emperor doesn't take action, I won't take his life. While talking, Yelvis paused and then said, "If the Demon Emperor is dissatisfied with this matter and wants to take action for him, I have nothing to say. But I've done my best for the clan. What qualifications does a new Demon Emperor have to stand shoulder to shoulder with me?" Dark aura filled the air. His eyes were full of disdain for Aveli. Emo Shelwa did not reply, just looked at Yelvis indifferently. After a long time, he waved his hand, and Aveli was suddenly struck by lightning. His body exploded in the air and flew out directly. "You're right. Being disrespectful to the Demon Emperor should be punished. The Demon Emperor is really reasonable." Yelvis also smiled. Emo Shalua slowly retracted his hand, looked at him and said, "You've broken through to the Demon Emperor. It's not suitable for you to be the Demon Emperor. If you don't leave the Emo Shalua clan, you can rule the clan with me. But if you want to leave the Emo Shalua clan and establish your own clan, I will not stop you. The Demon Emperor has given me a new life. I'm not an ungrateful person. Naturally, I'm willing to stay in the clan." "That's good." There was finally a smile on Emo Shelua's face. "This is not the place to talk.
Come with me."
All right. The bodies of the two Demon Emperors suddenly disappeared, as if they had never appeared. On the other side, Eve struggled to stand up from the ground. The wave of Emo Shelua's hand just now had almost destroyed his divine soul. It hadn't been long since he made the breakthrough, and his cultivation base had also become unstable.
Fortunately,
Emo Shelwa was also merciful. He didn't really kill Ively. Otherwise, Ively would have died on the spot. Longfellow glanced at him indifferently and shook his head inwardly before returning to his throne.
it was good to be taught a lesson.
Otherwise, this new Demon Emperor would really think that he was qualified to stand shoulder to shoulder with a veteran Demon Emperor like him. Only by revealing the disparity between them would they be able to understand. It was just a new beginning for him to break through to Demon Emperor. Yerways' breakthrough did not cause any big commotion. Except for the few Demon Emperors of the Mose Halo clan, no one else knew about Yelvis's breakthrough. They didn't know. It turned out that the Mose Halo clan had one less Demon Emperor and one more Demon Emperor. Somewhere in the void, Qin Shujian was still refining the corpse of the Star Beast. He absorbed the energy of the void and transformed it into flames, which were much more violent than the divine fire that the Vermilion Bird Emperor used. Even a corpse that was as strong as an upper 3 grades was gradually melting under the burning of the raging flames. The corpse of the Star Beast melted. It turned into a crystal-clear liquid, like a river. If one looked carefully, they would find that there was something like starlight embellished in the crystal-clear liquid, which looked very gorgeous. After all the corpses of the Star Beasts had melted, Qin Shujian suddenly withdrew all the flames. His hands formed different seals, and his vital energy wrapped around the liquid. Mysterious runes were born from the void and merged into the liquid. The level of mystery of those runes was far beyond the level of the Great Thousand World. If a Grandmaster Blacksmith was here to observe, he would be shocked to find that he couldn't understand a single rune. Refining, then the merging of the runes. These were just the beginning steps. But even these steps consumed a large amount of Qin Shujian's vital energy. If it were any other Ninth Heaven immortal, their vital energy would have been exhausted when refining the corpse of the Star Beast. But for Qin Shujian, who had an inner world, such consumption was still within the range of what he could bear. Time passed. It was difficult to detect the changes in time in the outer realm. After the runes merged, the liquid was compressed to the extreme step by step. The entire process. It looked very simple. However, it was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to compress such a vast amount of liquid into an extremely small size.
Then,
Qin Shujian placed the star core into it again.
Suddenly,
Zhou Tian's star map, which had already taken shape, began to surge violently. Waves of surging power erupted from inside, accompanied by shocking beast roars. All of a sudden, a phantom of a star beast walked out of it and roared furiously. Then, it rushed towards Qin Shujian to kill him. It was just a simple attack, but it shattered the void. In the face of such power, Qin Shujian's expression was calm, and he was not moved at all. But just as the attack was about to arrive, he threw out a punch. Boom! The terrifying power crushed, and the Star Beast Phantom was instantly shattered. Evil beast, you were not my match when you were alive, and you dare to be so arrogant after death. Qin Shujian had a disdainful smile on his face. With his strength, even when the Star Beast was alive, he could directly suppress it. The phantom that was born now only contained a little bit of the power of the Star Beast in its heyday, and it could barely step into the true immortal level. In the face of such an attack, in Qin Shujian's eyes, it was no different from a joke. When the first Star Beast was suppressed and destroyed, soon, the second and third Star Beasts walked out of Zhou Tian's star map. Those Star Beasts roared angrily, bared their fangs and brandished their claws, and attacked Qin Shujian. There were no accidents. All the Star Beast phantoms that walked out were all suppressed by Qin Shujian with one hand. There was no wind or waves during the whole process. But when the aftermath of the power spread out, it would cause the embryonic form of Zhou Tian's star map to fluctuate, and the runes inside were reflected. It's about to reach the critical moment. After suppressing all the Star Beast phantoms, Qin Shujian's eyes burst with light. It was unknown when it started. In the void, there was already an oppressive aura pervading. P.S. The public account, the white fold dies quickly, will be updated later. Chapter 836. Was there a lightning tribulation in the void? This question, if it was to the cultivators of the 10,000 races, their answer would definitely be the same. No. Because no one had ever encountered a lightning tribulation in the void outside the realm. Even experts at the limit of the heaven-being realm had no way to become an immortal in the void outside the realm. They could only return to the Great Thousand World to undergo the tribulation. Over time, almost everyone acknowledged that there was no lightning tribulation in the void outside the realm. However, this publicly acknowledged fact was now directly broken. Lightning tribulation. In the battlefield outside the realm, Duan Sun looked at the overwhelming darkness above his head and the occasional flashing lightning. He could not help but be stunned. Lightning tribulation. There was a lightning tribulation in the battlefield outside the realm. He almost thought that it was a fiend from the void that had invaded. However, the Tiandi bell that suppressed the battlefield outside the realm had not moved until now. It was obvious that it had nothing to do with the void demon, because the Tiandi bell had existed for so long. As long as a powerful void demon approached, it would send out a warning. Duan Sun still had a lot of faith in the use of this supreme treasure. Therefore, since the current phenomenon was not related to the void demon, it should be a lightning tribulation without a doubt. At this moment, not only was Duan Sun shocked, the other cultivators of the 10,000 races were also shocked. They looked up at the black tribulation clouds in the sky. The shock in their hearts could be imagined. Without any hesitation, Duan Sun immediately sent the news back. He was a subject of the Great Zhao. Therefore, the news was not sent to the heavenly court, but to the Great Zhao. After sending the news back, Duan Sun crushed another jade talisman. Immediately, all the garrison forces in the city he was in entered a state of martial law. One by one, powerful cultivators walked out of seclusion and came to Duan Sun's side. "General, what happened?" a heaven-being expert asked. Duan Sun shook his head. "I don't know what happened for the time being. A lightning tribulation suddenly appeared in the void outside the realm, and the tribulation clouds are vast, covering the entire battlefield outside the realm. In order to avoid accidents, martial law was immediately imposed. Then inform everyone not to leave the city without permission or act rashly. We will wait and see." Understood. Those experts nodded. They were from the Great Zhao. This city was also a city of the Great Zhao, and Duan Sun was the city lord. It could be said that, unless the Zhao Emperor himself came, otherwise, Duan Sun's status would be the highest in the city. While the Great Zhao Empire was under martial law, the cities of the Qianyuan sacred ground were also under martial law. Qin Yuanbai, who had just broken through to the true immortal realm, left the Qianyuan sacred ground and entered the extraterritorial battlefield. Holy Master! Greetings, Holy Lord! The strong cultivators of the Qianyuan sacred ground all bowed to greet him. Qin Yuanbai waved his hand and looked at the scene in the sky with his hands behind his back, his expression extremely solemn. What the hell happened? I'm not sure. Suddenly, tribulation clouds covered the Outerium battlefield. I suspect that an expert might be undergoing tribulation to become an immortal. Or perhaps, some supreme treasure has appeared. Feng Xinglan shook his head. It's impossible for someone to ascend to immortal ascension. The power of the immortal ascension tribulation shouldn't be this strong. If it's the birth of a supreme treasure, then it's possible. Qin Yuanbai asked in a deep voice, have you sent anyone to find out the reason? Hearing this, Feng Xinglan said, we've already sent people, but there's no news for now. We'll be prepared. Qin Yuanbai suddenly sighed. He had already broken through to the true immortal realm, but in front of this tribulation cloud, he still felt endless oppression. It was as if as long as the thunder tribulation fell, he would turn into ashes.
It could be seen that
the existence that triggered the thunder tribulation was definitely not that simple. To be honest, Qin Yuanbai had only felt this level of thunder tribulation in the Rule Thunder tribulation. However, the tribulation cloud in front of him was different from the ordinary Rule Thunder tribulation. He wasn't sure what the origin of this tribulation cloud was. Troubled times. Feng Xinglan also sighed. Now he was also under a lot of pressure. This pressure, one came from the tribulation cloud above his head, and the other came from Qin Yuanbai beside him. Now that Qin Yuanbai had broken through to the true immortal realm, he was still at the diviner realm. The gap between them had been silently widened. Qin Yuanbai seemed to have noticed something and glanced at him sideways. It won't take long for you to break through to the true immortal realm, right? It's hard to say. Maybe there's still a few years left. Feng Xinglan shook his head, his expression not looking too good. Qin Yuanbai said, if you can't do the formation Tao, don't force it. How can a third realm be so easy to break through? Moreover, even if you break through to the third realm, your strength is only equivalent to a mighty figure. If you can rely on your own strength to prove your Tao, it's much better than painstakingly searching for the formation Tao. In his opinion, if Feng Xinglan had not been specializing in the formation Tao, he might have been a true immortal now. The other party's strength was not bad, and his talent was not bad either. It was only because of the formation Tao that he had been distracted. In the face of Qin Yuanbai's persuasion, Feng Xinglan forced a smile on his face. Everyone has different pursuits. The Heavenly Array sect focuses on the formation Tao. The fact that the Emperor of Heaven could break through to such a realm already shows that there's a path ahead of the formation Tao.
Fine.
Qin Yuanbai stopped persuading. Since Feng Xinglan insisted, he had nothing to say. Just as the other party said, everyone had different pursuits. He pursued the true immortal Tao, while Feng Xinglan pursued the peak of the formation Tao. It was hard to say who was right and who was wrong. Perhaps there would really be a day Feng Xinglan could break his own limits and reach the peak of the formation Tao. The first Grandmaster to reach the third realm can obtain a deity position in the heavenly court. Now, the only one who can compete with you for this deity position is the one from the Great Zhao dynasty. If you can reach the third realm before him and obtain the deity position in the heavenly court, it might be of great benefit to your future. Qin Yuanbai thought for a while and added, I naturally understand what the Sacred Lord means. Feng Xinglan smiled. This was also his pursuit. He would first break through the third realm and enter the heavenly court to obtain the deity position. Then, he would see if he could borrow the power of the deity position to directly break through the threshold of Grandmaster and advance to the legendary Saint realm. Currently, the formation Tao of the 10,000 races was declining. Only the human race's formation Tao was passable. But among the human race, there were only a handful of second realm formation Grandmasters.
For now.
Other than Feng Xinglan himself, Only the great Zhao imperial astronomer had a second realm formation grandmaster. Just as the two of them were conversing, the extraterritorial battlefield was already under martial law. The tribulation clouds that covered the entire extraterritorial battlefield suddenly shook. Endless streams of light flickered within like silver snakes. Very soon, a monstrous roar resounding throughout the entire extraterritorial battlefield. It was as if a lightning tribulation was descending somewhere. But in the extraterritorial battlefield, one could only hear the thunder and was unable to see the lightning tribulation descend. Chapter 837. The news of a heavenly tribulation appearing in the extraterritorial battlefield was sent back to the Great Thousand World. Many heavenly court powerhouses rushed to the extraterritorial battlefield at the same time. They all wanted to find out what was going on. In a short period of time, a large number of cultivators from the 10,000 races gathered. One by one, the perfected immortals who were cultivating in seclusion walked out and entered the battlefield. A sudden heavenly tribulation. It attracted the attention of all the powerhouses from the 10,000 races. At this moment, the 5 imperial emperors were guarding the extraterritorial battlefield. Imperial Emperor Zhongyuan is knowledgeable. Do you know the origin of the heavenly tribulation? The demon emperor turned his head and looked at Emperor Zhao. As soon as he finished speaking, the other powerhouses also looked at Emperor Zhao. Just as the demon emperor said, among the imperial emperors present, no one was more knowledgeable than Imperial Emperor Zhongyuan. Although the human race had declined for millions of years, Emperor Zhao obviously had other opportunities. He had obtained the inheritance of the ancient heavenly court. It had already spread like wildfire. To many powerhouses, it was not a secret that was difficult to find out. Emperor Zhao said, "Compared to me, the Eastern god of war should know more about this." After he finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Qingfeng, who was silent at the side. Now that there was a sudden change in the extraterritorial battlefield. Not only were the 5 imperial emperors present, but the 4 gods of war were also present. Hearing that, Xiao Qingfeng said calmly, "The universe's laws, but in fact, the laws of the universe are invisible and not everyone is qualified to reach them. Below the laws of the universe, there are different laws. Among them, the Great Thousand World and the extraterritorial void have their own laws. The source of these laws is the universe. The birth of the heavenly tribulation comes from the laws. The Great Thousand World has laws, so the heavenly tribulation will be born. The extraterritorial void also has laws, so the heavenly tribulation exists in the extraterritorial void. It's just that the heavenly tribulation in the extraterritorial void is not that easy to trigger, so not many people know about it." After a simple explanation, Xiao Qingfeng paused and continued, "If someone can comprehend the laws of the void and use it to become an immortal, there will naturally be a heavenly tribulation. However, the power of the immortal ascension tribulation can't be so strong. If he was really that powerful, then no matter how talented he was, it would be impossible for him to pass the tribulation successfully. According to my conjecture, a supreme treasure must have appeared, or someone must have refined some kind of supreme treasure to attract the heavenly tribulation." Speaking of which, the Emperor of Heaven still hasn't shown himself. Xiao Qingfeng smiled meaningfully. When the other gods heard this, realization dawned upon them. They didn't know much about the extraterritorial void, far less than Xiao Qingfeng, the reincarnation of immortal Lord Haotsung. If the source of the heavenly tribulation was due to the refinement of supreme treasures, then he could basically guess the reason. However, the Dog King said in a low voice, "What kind of treasure could cause such a commotion?" Even the Sky Mirror and the Tiandi Bell did not cause such a commotion. Could it be that the treasure that the Emperor of Heaven refined this time is even more terrifying than the Heavenly Mirror and the Tiandi Bell? In his eyes, the Heavenly Mirror and the Tiandi Bell were already top-notch supreme treasures. None of the divine weapons owned by the 10,000 races could compare to the 2 supreme treasures of the Heavenly Court. The Dog King found it hard to imagine. If it was a supreme treasure that was more powerful than both of them, what would it be like? Xiao Qingfeng shook his head. It's hard to say. The Emperor of Heaven's methods are too mysterious. It's not something that you and I can guess. Now that the Emperor of Heaven has entered the extraterritorial void, the heavenly tribulation has covered it not long after. If it's not related to him, no one else would be able to cause such a commotion. Usually, the extraterritorial void was very peaceful. Not long after Qin Shu Jian entered the extraterritorial void, the heavenly tribulation appeared. Xiao Qingfeng would never believe that it had nothing to do with the Emperor of Heaven. But just as the Dog King thought, he also found it hard to imagine that the other party could really refine the heavenly mirror and the Tiandi bell. After all, those two supreme treasures were already comparable to the sixth tribulation Zhu Bing. If it really surpassed those two supreme treasures, wouldn't it be entering the ranks of the seventh tribulation Zhu Bing? Thinking of this, Xiao Qingfeng was also shocked. At this moment, the sound of explosions could be heard from the sky. The earth-shattering aura made the hearts of everyone in the extraterritorial battlefield heavy. At the same time, the heavenly tribulation clouds that covered the extraterritorial battlefield also made many people curious. Unlike the great wide world, the extraterritorial battlefield seemed to have no end. Now, the heavenly tribulation clouds were floating above their heads, but no one was sure how high they were. After seeing the heavenly tribulation clouds move, some people suddenly had the urge to explore. Zhao Emperor looked at the heavenly tribulation clouds silently for a long time, then turned to look at the scene outside the extraterritorial battlefield. There were endless black shadows surging there. Pass down the order. Let the 10,000 races enter a state of alert. If the heavenly tribulation clouds are really caused by the Emperor of Heaven, then the three major clans of the extraterritorial void will definitely sense it. They may make a move at the critical moment, either to stop the supreme treasure from being born or to launch a surprise attack on the extraterritorial battlefield. The current situation was unclear, but it was a good thing for the three major clans. If the heavenly tribulation was really caused by the supreme treasure refined by Qin Shu Jian, the spies of the 10,000 races had already been sent out, but there was no news at all. It was impossible for the heavenly court to help him transcend the tribulation. Therefore, the only thing they could do now was to put the 10,000 races on alert to prevent the extraterritorial battlefield from taking this opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Hearing this, the other immortals did not object, but passed down the order. What Zhao Emperor said was also their inner concern. Although the extraterritorial battlefield was calm now, in fact, the three major clans had long wanted to break through the extraterritorial battlefield and kill their way into the great wide world. The reason why there was no movement was because they had not found the right time. Now that they were really given a chance, the three major clans would not be willing to be left out. All of a sudden, the battlefield entered a state of full alert. When the battlefield was under martial law, the three major clans of the extraterritorial void also received the news immediately. Endless black shadows crept forward. Bach had completely awakened from his deep sleep. Heavenly tribulation. How many years has it been since a heavenly tribulation appeared in the void? Now, a heavenly tribulation has descended again. Bach's dark eyes seemed to pierce through hundreds of millions of miles of the void, trying to find the source of the heavenly tribulation. He immediately looked in the direction of the extraterritorial battlefield. For countless years, the heavenly tribulation had only appeared a few times in the void, and every time it had something to do with the great wide world. This time, the heavenly tribulation had appeared again, and Bach was almost certain that it had something to do with the great wide world. Chapter 8:38. Just as Bahito's gaze shot over, Dong, the Tiandi bell that was suppressing the extraterritorial battlefield, let out a heavy sound at this moment, causing the void to shake and crack, attracting everyone's attention. What's going on? The Tiandi bell is ringing. A void demon is attacking. The cultivators of the myriad clans panicked. Usually, the Tiandi bell would ring occasionally, which meant that a void demon had entered the extraterritorial battlefield. Many cultivators of the myriad clans were used to this. But it was different now. The heavenly tribulation covered the extraterritorial battlefield. Everyone was already in a state of panic. With the sudden sound of the Tiandi bell, they were like birds that were startled by the twang of a bow. One could imagine how affected they were. Baido looked over. The 5 great imperial emperors and the 4 great war gods all sensed it at the same time. They had cultivated to their current level. Any one of them was at least at the 4th level of the immortal realm. Although there was still a long way to go before they reached the 3rd level of the true immortal realm, it was not difficult to sense Bahido's undisguised gaze. Demon Emperor. Emperor Zhao's expression was solemn, but he did not show any fear. As for the other immortals and gods, their expressions were not very good. Some demon emperors suddenly cast their gazes over. One didn't need to think to know what this meant. If they did not notice it for a moment, it might attract the attack of the 3 great clans. On the other side, the moment the Tiandi bell rang, that ray of light was directly shattered by the bell. Baido slowly retracted his gaze. A strange expression flashed across his dark eyes. What a powerful treasure! It can shatter my gaze with just its instinct. No wonder no clansmen have been able to approach the extraterritorial battlefield for so long. He had some understanding of the Tiandi bell's existence. However, because he had been recuperating from his injuries, he did not pay too much attention to it. Now that he had truly witnessed the power of the Tiandi bell, Baido finally understood why the other clansmen could not approach the extraterritorial battlefield. It could shatter his gaze. Such strength was at least at the true immortal realm. Moreover, he had only just looked at the extraterritorial battlefield, but he had already attracted the attention of the Tiandi bell. In terms of perception, it had already reached a terrifying level. He wanted to get closer without anyone noticing. Even Bach wasn't 100% confident in this. Such a treasure is indeed shocking, but that's all there is to it. Bach's eyes were cold, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. Tiandi bell's strength was only relative. In his eyes, if he really wanted to destroy it, it would not be difficult. What really attracted Bahido's attention was still that strange heavenly tribulation. As far as the eye could see, the extraterritorial battlefield was indeed covered by tribulation clouds. However, Baido did not see any heavenly tribulation descending. From this, it could be seen that the heavenly tribulation did not originate from the battlefield outside. His glance just now, he had already seen through the entire outer region battlefield. If it's not in the extraterritorial battlefield, then it should be somewhere near the extraterritorial battlefield. The tribulation clouds have covered the entire area, so they shouldn't be too far away. He looked out again, but this time, he was not looking at the extraterritorial battlefield. He was looking at the area near the extraterritorial battlefield. However, with just a glance, he was stunned on the spot, because the place he looked at was also covered by tribulation clouds. After a long time, Bach retracted his gaze. Hiss! He couldn't help but take a deep breath. If the tribulation clouds only covered the extraterritorial battlefield, then it would be fine. No matter how strong the heavenly tribulation was, it was still within a range that could be controlled. But now, the area that he looked at was covered by tribulation clouds. Bach did a rough calculation. Those areas were at least hundreds of millions of miles wide. Such a vast tribulation cloud, but he still couldn't find the place where the heavenly tribulation would descend. That was somewhat shocking. Bach's expression suddenly became serious. The strength of a top-notch demon emperor allowed him to see the endless void, but it did not mean that he could see the entire universe. Immediately, Bach left the place where he was sleeping and headed towards the location of the heavenly tribulation. He wanted to find out the source of the heavenly tribulation. However, after leaving the place where he was sleeping, Bach stopped and changed direction, heading towards the Mo Zyro clan. He suddenly felt that it wasn't safe for him to go there alone. The current void was no longer the void that was dominated by the void demons in the past. If he really encountered the supreme experts of the heavenly court, Bach didn't have the confidence to escape unscathed. At this time, the best thing to do was to pull the other demon emperors together. In any case, as long as he had enough people, even if the experts of the heavenly court ambushed him, he would be able to retreat safely. On the other side of the endless void, The dark red lightning was like a destructive dragon that constantly bombarded down, as if it was trying to stop something that shouldn't be born. Wherever the lightning passed, everything turned to dust. Those living within 1,000,000 miles of the heavenly tribulation had been completely annihilated the moment the lightning struck. The target of the lightning. It was an array diagram that seemed to contain an endless river of stars. The array diagram seemed to be only a few feet in size, but if one looked at it carefully, it seemed to be infinitely large. There was a river of stars in the array diagram, and the stars were as bright as fire, emitting a terrifying aura. At this moment, when the heavenly tribulation descended, the formation map shook a little. Immediately, a solid illusory star beast walked out from it. The astral beast roared at the sky and punched at the lightning with its fists. The two forces collided, instantly destroying the void and turning it into a destructive turbulence. In the next moment, the astral beast collapsed, and the lightning continued to fall on the array diagram. The array diagram trembled violently. The river of stars inside shook violently, and some of the stars dimmed, as if they would collapse at any moment. But soon, a mysterious power emerged and restored the dimmed stars to their original brightness. Not long after, a second bolt of lightning fell. Compared to the previous one, this one was even more terrifying, and its destructive power was vast and mighty. As if sensing the threat of death, astral beasts walked out of the array diagram. 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, 3 star beast phantoms that were millions of feet tall appeared in the void and pounced on Lei Ting.
Boom.
The battle and the tribulation didn't stop for a moment. Qin Shu Jian had already retreated a distance, silently watching the scene in front of him with his hands behind his back. Zhou Tian's array diagram was almost complete by now. However, any supreme treasure that was born had to be tempered by the heavenly tribulation, because only by going through the tribulation and absorbing the power of laws could it be strengthened. Chapter 839. The heavenly tribulation continued to fall. The aura of Zhou Tian's star map became stronger and stronger, and the star beasts that walked out seemed to be endless, constantly fighting against the thunderbolts. Every time a star beast collapsed, the thunderbolts would be weakened. When they completely fell, not only did they not destroy Zhou Tian's star map, but there was also a trace of thunderbolt power in the galaxy inside. Compared to the great wide world, the laws of the outer realm are the most compatible with the laws of the universe. The heavenly tribulation here also has a stronger law power. Being able to transcend the tribulation here is very beneficial to Zhou Tian's star map. Qin Shu Jian looked at the falling thunderbolts and Zhou Tian's star map, which was getting stronger and stronger, with a gratified smile on his face. He came to the outer realm to refine Zhou Tian's star map. His main purpose was to come here to transcend the tribulation. Although, in the great wide world, he could let Zhou Tian's star map transcend the tribulation, but there were many differences. First of all, the power of the heavenly tribulation. Refining Zhou Tian's star map was different from refining the heavenly mirror and the Tiandi bell. This was a supreme treasure that completely surpassed the two, so the destructive power of the heavenly tribulation was far from what the previous heavenly tribulations could compare to. If he transcended the tribulation in the great wide world, the power of the heavenly tribulation would definitely break through the astral wind layer. When that time came, even a perfected immortal would be in danger of dying if he was affected. After all, the power of the heavenly tribulation had already reached the level of threatening a third-level perfected immortal, and as time passed, it was still gradually increasing. Qin Shu Jian had a premonition that if the heavenly tribulation continued for a while, even he would have to temporarily avoid it. At that level, the heavenly tribulation would be the source of destruction anywhere. Of course, the more powerful the heavenly tribulation was, the higher the level of Zhou Tian's star map. Only those with a sufficiently high rank could unleash the full power of the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Except for this, it was because the outer realm was the place closest to the origin of the universe. Compared to the great wide world, it was equivalent to having an additional layer. Therefore, although the heavenly tribulation in the extraterritorial void was powerful, it was also accompanied by rich rule power. It was an outstanding treasure to begin with. Once it succeeded in transcending the tribulation in such an environment, it would become even more powerful. However, not all supreme treasures had the ability to transcend tribulations in the outer realm. Even the heavenly mirror and the Tiandi bell were no exception. In Qin Shujin's eyes, the foundation of the two was still a little weaker. If they forcefully underwent the tribulation in the void outside the realm, it was very likely that they would attract a powerful heavenly tribulation and be destroyed in the end. However, Zhou Tian's star map did not have such a hidden danger. At this moment, lightning bolts fell one after another. The aftermath of the destruction caused Qin Shujian to retreat even further. The God Slayer in his sea of consciousness was also trembling. Emperor of Heaven, if Zhou Tian's star map succeeds in transcending the tribulation, what kind of supreme treasure will it be? He looked at the descending lightning tribulation with both fear and curiosity. Zhu Bing had an instinctive fear of heavenly tribulations. This was especially true for some powerful heavenly tribulations. The power caused by Zhou Tian's star map's tribulation gave the Godslayer the illusion that he was transcending the tribulation himself. Even though he had broken through to the fifth tribulation Zhu Bing, he could not help but feel shocked. There was nothing he could do about it. If the fifth tribulation Zhu Bing was strong, then he was strong. But if he was not strong, then he was not that strong either. At the very least, the power of the fifth tribulation was only at the level of a middle three true immortal. It was not the top kind.
On the contrary,
Zhou Tian's star map's tribulation had steadily entered the upper three true immortals and was almost at the ninth tribulation immortal level. Not to mention the fifth tribulation. Godslayer was almost certain that the power of the sixth tribulation was absolutely not at this level. If he wanted to compare, he would have to transcend at least the seventh tribulation. In other words, once Zhou Tian's star map succeeded in transcending the tribulation, it was very likely that it would be comparable to the seventh tribulation Zhu Bing. In front of the seventh tribulation Zhu Bing, the fifth tribulation Zhu Bing was just a little brother. Qin Shujian's eyes stopped on Zhou Tian's star map. He did not move at all, but he gave an explanation. It is not easy to refine Zhou Tian's star map. If he succeeds in transcending the tribulation, he will at least be comparable to the top 7 tribulation Zhu Bing, or have a chance to enter the ranks of the 8th tribulation Zhu Bing. But it is too difficult to say that he is a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing. Unless the Weapon Emperor is reborn and personally refines it, it is harder than ascending to heaven to refine a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing. In the end, Qin Shujian let out a sigh. He had never seen anyone succeed in refining a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing. Even the Weapon Emperor. There was only a rumor that he had refined a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing, but Qin Shujian had no way to verify the actual situation. To refine a treasure of that level, the right time, right place, and right people were indispensable. He was confident that in this era, no one could surpass him in terms of forging, but he was not confident that he could refine a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing. It was not just a 9th tribulation Zhu Bing. Even if it was a 7th or 8th tribulation Zhu Bing, Qin Shujian was not confident in refining it. Zhou Tian's star map could have such a starting point because it was piled up with high-level materials. Not to mention other things. Just the bodies of the dozen or so star beasts were not comparable to other things. Not to mention that Qin Shujian also threw in hundreds of star cores. These treasures, even if they were not used to refine Zhou Tian's star map, the energy contained in them was enough to kill a few 9th tribulation immortals. So, with such a foundation, coupled with Qin Shujian's strong forging skills, it was natural that he could refine a treasure that was at least at the 7th tribulation Zhu Bing level. With a 7th tribulation foundation, there was hope for an 8th tribulation. Godslayer was shocked. He had overestimated Zhou Tian's star map, but now after hearing Qin Shujian's words, he realized that he was a frog in a well. For no reason. The god-slaying saber felt a faint sense of danger. He found that Qin Shujian had more and more treasures, and his status as a fifth tribulation Zubing was also getting lower. He was originally the most powerful divine weapon in the other party's hands.
But now,
He was already overshadowed by the heavenly mirror and the Tiandi bell. Before long, there would be another Zhou Tian star map above his head. Thinking of this, Godslayer was under a lot of pressure. After all, the more treasures Qin Shujian had, the higher his status as a Zubing would be. It was possible that he would fall out of favor one day. Once he fell out of favor, he would be banished to the cold palace, and he might never have a chance to see the light of day again. No, I can't go on like this. I have to transcend the sixth tribulation as soon as possible. As long as I succeed, at least I won't be inferior to that broken mirror and broken bell. Godslayer secretly made up his mind. Transcending the tribulation, he had to transcend the tribulation. If he didn't transcend the tribulation, he, as a fifth tribulation Zubing, would have no status to speak of. For the time being, there was no way to compare with Zhou Tian's star map, but as long as he could suppress the heavenly mirror and the Tiandi bell, that would be pretty good. Second, at the very least, it was better than being ranked fourth. Chapter 840.
roar.
His furious roar caused the void within 1,000,000 miles to be obliterated. A star beast that was 1,000,000 feet long floated above Zhou Tian's star map and threw a punch at the heavenly tribulation. In the next second, the star beast's body was shattered by the lightning. However, no blood flowed out of the shattered body. Starlight flickered on Zhou Tian's star map. The star beast's injuries also recovered in an instant. It's the 7th day. Qin Shujian counted the days with his fingers. Because the passage of time in the outer realm was difficult to detect, he could only determine it through deduction. Normally speaking, the heavenly tribulation of the birth of a supreme treasure would only last for a few days. But now that 7 days had passed, not only did the heavenly tribulation show no signs of weakening, but it also became stronger and stronger. The destructive aura had already made Qin Shujian's expression change slightly. Obviously, the power of the heavenly tribulation was already firmly above that of a 9th-level immortal, and it was not comparable to an ordinary 9th-level immortal. If the power of the heavenly tribulation can be promoted to the half-step Dao fruit level, then Zhou Tian's star map can be promoted to the level of an 8th-level Zubing. It's just that if the heavenly tribulation really reaches that level, it's another question whether I can successfully transcend it. Qin Shujian's expression kept changing. In his heart, he hoped that the heavenly tribulation would not be too powerful to prevent himself from falling short of success. At the same time, he hoped that the heavenly tribulation would become stronger so that the foundation of Zhou Tian's star map would be deeper. Two different thoughts kept fighting in his mind. Soon, these thoughts were dispelled by him. There was obviously no need to think so much now. If Zhou Tian's star map can't even withstand the heavenly tribulation of a half-step Dao fruit level, then even if the refinement is successful, it will be of limited help to me. In that case, it's better to fight with all my might. Qin Shujian's mind calmed down a little. He realized that his mentality after so many years was still inevitably stirred when it came to the critical moment. The reason for this was that Zhou Tian's star map was really important. Before he recovered the strength of the third era, this supreme treasure, it would allow him to have the strength to challenge those of a higher realm. It was also the trump card to deal with the 3 great clans and the demon abyss. Another few days passed. The power of the heavenly tribulation had already reached an unimaginable level. Suddenly, the void rippled. Qin Shujian's unmoving body suddenly tilted his head and looked in the direction of nothingness. His eyes were filled with a chilling coldness. How dare you spy on me? You're courting death. As the cold words came out, 2 beams of light from his eyes shattered the vacuum and instantly blasted out.
Boom.
Invisible forces clashed, causing the void to explode. Very soon, 4 familiar and strange figures appeared in Qin Shujian's sight. The Heavenly Emperor's strength is even stronger than before. Although his words were full of praise, the darkness in his eyes revealed an ominous aura. He was now fully aware of Qin Shujian's identity, the current emperor of heaven of the vast thousand worlds. He was also the founder of the new heavenly court a million years after the ancient heavenly court was destroyed. While they were talking, out of the corner of his eyes, Bach also looked at Zhou Tian's star map, which was undergoing the heavenly tribulation. If it was said that when he saw Qin Shujian, he was only solemn, but when he saw this supreme treasure, his expression could no longer remain calm. A few days ago, there was a heavenly tribulation that covered hundreds of millions of miles. I was very curious about what caused it. Now it seems that such a supreme treasure has appeared. No wonder. Bach said no wonder twice in a row. The fear in his eyes dissipated and was replaced by an incomparable passion. A supreme treasure. This was a true supreme treasure. To be able to remain intact in the face of such a heavenly tribulation, what else could it be but a supreme treasure? Bach guessed that if he obtained this supreme treasure, he might even be able to unify the three great clans. Mo Xiaolua and the other demon emperors would also have to bow down to him. I don't want to attack you for the time being. If you know what's good for you, go back to where you came from. Otherwise, only death awaits you. Qin Shujian's eyes were cold and reserved, leaving only indifference. When Bach and the other demon emperors approached, he had already sensed their whereabouts. But what puzzled Qin Shujian was there should only be 3 demon emperors in the 3 great clans. But now, there were a total of 4 demon emperors. While he was puzzled, Qin Shujian's gaze also fell on Yelvis. He immediately understood. He was not very familiar with Yelvis, but he had seen him a few times. The main thing was that during the war, there were only a few demon emperors in the 3 great clans. It was very difficult to be completely unfamiliar with him. But what Qin Shujian did not expect was Yelvis could make a breakthrough at this juncture, allowing the 3 great clans to have another demon emperor. Bach smiled faintly and said, "Emperor of Heaven, you're exaggerating. When a supreme treasure appears, it should belong to the virtuous. How can you take it all for yourself? Why don't you leave this supreme treasure behind, and I will let you leave safely? You've already been defeated, yet you still dare to speak so boldly. Who gave you such confidence? Is it because there's a new demon emperor?" Qin Shujian sneered. He was no longer the same as before and didn't put Bach in his eyes. While speaking, Qin Shujian glanced at Yelvis again. "Speaking of which, I really want to know, are the void demons from the 3 great clans or the 4 great clans?" Hearing this, the demon emperor's expressions remained the same, not wavering at all by his words. Seeing this, Qin Shujian also took out a jade talisman and crushed it with all his might. "It seems that you guys are unwilling to retreat. Since you don't want to retreat, then let's fight. Anyway, the heavenly court will definitely fight with your clans in the future. It doesn't matter if it's brought forward." As soon as he finished speaking, the God-Slayer flew out from the sea of consciousness, and a shocking slaughter instantly erupted. The power of slaughter swept across, causing the expressions of Bach and the other demon emperors to change. Immediately after, Qin Shujian took a step forward, like a god descending to the mortal world, holding the God-Slayer in one hand and slashing down. The blade aura was like a waterfall, covering the 4 demon emperors. Kill. The 4 demon emperors didn't hesitate at all, and attacked at the same time. For long rivers of laws surged, and the power of darkness gathered together, instantly shattering the blade aura. Boom! The blade aura shattered, and the power of darkness didn't stop, blasting toward Qin Shujian. In response, Qin Shujian didn't retreat. Instead, he advanced, and the God-Slayer slashed out again, annihilating the aftermath. "Today, I will slaughter the demon emperors for the blood sacrifice of Zhou Tian's star map that is about to be born." His face was cold, and surging killing intent rushed into the void. The void that was originally covered by the aftermath of the destruction was now completely replaced by a murderous aura. The demon emperors didn't reply, but the power of darkness erupted, completely turning the void into an extermination demon realm. The moment the demon realm was born, Qin Shujian had already stepped in alone, and his aura was like a rainbow, sharp and unstoppable. Chapter 841. Battle. It erupted very quickly. In just an instant, the 5 people were completely engaged in a fierce battle. As early as a few years ago, Qin Shujian was able to fight with 3 demon emperors with his own strength.
Until now.
After his strength had steadily improved, even if he faced 4 demon emperors at the same time, he would not be afraid at all. 5 terrifying bodies collided together, engulfing hundreds of millions of miles of the void. However, whether it was Qin Shujian or the demon emperors, they all consciously avoided the aftermath of the battle, avoiding Zhou Tian's star map. Because Zhou Tian's star map was undergoing tribulation, if there were any aftershocks, it might be mistaken by the rules that someone wanted to interfere with the tribulation. At that time, no one would be able to escape under the lock of the heavenly tribulation. After all, up until now, the power of the heavenly tribulation had reached a terrifying level. Even a top demon emperor like Bahado felt his heart palpitate. If he really resisted and was targeted by the heavenly tribulation, that power, it was enough to make a demon emperor fall. On the other side, the Tiandi bell, which existed in the sky above the extraterritorial battlefield, began to ring automatically. The heavy sound of the bell contained an endless murderous aura. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the location of the Tiandi bell. Since the heavenly tribulation covered the extraterritorial battlefield, this was the second time the Tiandi bell rang. The first time, most people did not know what was going on. Now, they were equally confused. The Tiandi bell still did not stop ringing. The sound of the bell rang again and again, entering everyone's ears. Gradually, everyone felt that the silent blood and qi in their bodies were boiling under the sound of the bell. At this moment, after the 9th ring of the Tiandi bell, it suddenly stopped. An illusory figure walked out of the bell and held the Tiandi bell with one hand.
Fight.
This simple word was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's ears.
Fight.
What fight? Some people were puzzled, while others were excited. All the immortals and gods of the heavenly court in the battlefield outside the realm were now looking at the figure holding the Tiandi bell. After the figure slowly disappeared, the gods' expressions were still grave. What does the Emperor of Heaven mean by this? Why does he want to fight? Some immortals and gods were still puzzled. Hearing this, the martial emperors of the 5 directions and the 4 divine battles remained silent. They exchanged glances with one another and saw the same message in each other's eyes. The Emperor of Heaven sent us a message to declare war on the 3 clans. It seems that something we don't know about has happened. But since the Emperor of Heaven has given the order, we don't need to hesitate. Emperor Zhao was the first to speak. He interpreted Qin Shujian's meaning. As the leader of the 5 imperial emperors, he was the one who gave the orders when the Emperor of Heaven was not around. Si Hanhai sneered. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. It's good to start a war. Let's kill all the demons in the void. From then on, the void outside the realm will be in the hands of the heavenly court. Ever since he became a demon, Si Hanhai's personality had completely changed. In the past, he did not like fighting, but now he was extremely bloodthirsty. However, unlike cultivators who had become demons, Si Hanhai could control his heart and would not easily fall into endless killing. These years, the great wide world had been peaceful, so Emperor Xiling did not have much of a chance to make a move. Therefore, Si Hanhai was also feeling uncomfortable. It was a good thing for him to be able to start a war now. Anyway, they would have to fight sooner or later. Even if they did not fight now, they would have to fight in a few months at most. Since that was the case, there was no need to delay. Emperor Zhao nodded and then looked at Xiao Qingfeng and the others. This battle is very important. We can't delay it for even a moment. This battle must be focused on destroying the 3 clans. There's no need to hold back those heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Okay. Xiao Qingfeng nodded. The other 3 didn't object to it either. Soldiers were trained for 1,000 days to be used in a moment. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had been through strict training for so many years. In addition, those people had a good foundation, so their strength had increased by leaps and bounds. If it were not for the rules, those heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals could almost all become immortals. But even so, there were also some heavenly generals who broke through the barriers and broke through to become perfected immortals. It could be said that the current strength of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals was already terrifyingly powerful. Now that they were about to start a war with the three clans, it was a good time to pull these people out. Without going through a baptism of blood, how could there be a transformation? After the four war gods left, the five great imperial emperors passed down the order to start a war. The immortals and gods who were originally stationed in the heavenly court now walked out of their seclusion places and rushed to the extraterritorial battlefield. Half a day later, the powerhouses in the extraterritorial battlefield had more than doubled. Thousands of perfected immortals, even if they did not deliberately release their auras, caused the void to stagnate. The cultivators of the 10,000 clans and all the players were now rubbing their hands and rubbing their palms, waiting for the war to start, especially the players. To them, every great battle was a great opportunity to level up. Although the probability of death was also very high, as long as they took advantage of this opportunity to snatch one or two heads or pick up some high-grade crystals, their levels would still increase. At this stage, the strength of the players was around the god martial arts realm. Up until now, there were very few players who had broken through to the celestial realm. The biggest reason was because of the restrictions of the cultivation method. Although the celestial cultivation method could be exchanged now, it was not that simple to reach the exchange threshold. Most people did not have the celestial cultivation method on them. Not to mention the celestial cultivation method. Some players could not even perfect the cultivation method of the god martial arts realm. Therefore, even if the power of the stars was rich and the cultivation environment had greatly improved, without the assistance of cultivation methods, the increase in strength of the players was very limited. And when the war started, the god martial arts realm would be cannon fodder. Experts of the celestial realm and even the perfected immortal realm would fall. At that time, as long as they were lucky enough, they could casually pick up some celestial level or perfected immortal level items. For the players at this stage, it would be a turning point in their fate. This was also the reason why the players were so keen on the start of the war. There was really no other way. They could only rely on the war and see if they could make a comeback in one fell swoop. In the sky above the extraterritorial battlefield, the immortals and gods of the heavenly court gathered. Emperor Zhao turned his head to look at Shi Yang and the Thousand-Eye Emperor and said, "When the war starts, the heaven and earth passageway cannot be abandoned. In order to prevent the demons of the void from taking advantage of this opportunity to sneak into the upper-class world, the two of you will guard the extraterritorial battlefield and not let any demons of the void take advantage of this opportunity to enter. If any demons of the void sneak in, when the time comes, report to the Emperor of Heaven and punish them according to the laws of the heavens." We obey the Emperor's orders. Shi Yang and the Thousand-Eye Emperor's hearts trembled, and then they cupped their hands with solemn expressions. Seeing this, Emperor Zhao retracted his gaze and looked at the lonely void in front of him. He took the lead and took a step forward, his aura shaking the void. "Let's go. P.S. Everyone can follow the public account, white full fleeting time." Chapter 842. The location of the three clans was no longer a secret, because the heavenly court had established the extraterritorial battlefield for many years. For so many years, the cultivators and players of the myriad clans had explored the extraterritorial void. Moreover, the land where the three clans were located was not an inconspicuous place, although there were many powerhouses in the clans' territories. However, no matter how many powerhouses there were, it was impossible to completely hide. Therefore, the location of the three clans had been obtained by the heavenly court a few years ago. However, because the time was not right, the heavenly court had not taken action. Now, Qin Shujian had issued an order. The powerhouses of the heavenly court naturally did not hesitate and directly led the cultivators of the myriad clans to the three clans' territories. At this moment, an army of 10 billion walked out of the extraterritorial battlefield and headed toward the endless void. Leading the army, it was the many immortals and gods of the heavenly court. After traveling for a while, the immortals of the heavenly court suddenly stopped, causing the 10 billion troops behind them to also stop. Emperor Zhao looked at the void in front of him and said, "The territories of the three clans are not in the same location. In order to prevent other clans from coming over, I think we should split into three groups and take down the three clans directly." "Isn't it too risky to split into three groups?" The demon emperor frowned. The strength of the three clans was not weak. If the heavenly court's forces were divided, the risk would increase a lot. Hearing this, Emperor Zhao immediately shook his head. How can there be no risk in war? However, the strength of the heavenly court is enough to deal with them. Since the Emperor of Heaven asked us to attack, needless to say, the demon emperor-level powerhouses can't take action. They should be fighting with the Emperor of Heaven somewhere. The only powerhouses left are those emperors. Among the three clans, the Baido clan is the strongest. The Yizo clan and the Moxiaro clan have both lost a demon emperor, so their strength is weakened. However, the Yizo clan is much weaker than the Moxiaro clan.
Speaking of this,
Emperor Zhao paused for a moment. After that, he continued, Imperial Monarch Eastern Sun and Imperial Monarch West Spirit are extremely strong. I presume that the two of you joining forces will be more than enough to deal with the Yizo clan. As for the Mashiolo clan, Yelvis was a peak demon emperor with extraordinary strength, and Longfellow was not weak either. Let the South Flame Emperor, the North Sea Emperor, and the North Pole War Gods work together to deal with them. As for the Baido clan, I, the Eastern Extreme War God, and the Western Extreme War God will head there. In addition, the Taiyin and Taiyong Star Lords will follow. The remaining gods of the heavenly court, as well as the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, will split into three groups, and each group will head to a clan. Emperor Zhao came up with a simple plan to divide his forces. It could be said that among the three teams, the one led by him was the most powerful. Not only did it have the leaders of the 5 great imperial emperors, but it also had the leaders of the 4 great imperial gods. But at the same time, this team was dealing with the most powerful of the 3 great clans. Regarding this, no one else objected. Very soon, the combined team split up and directly turned from 1 to 3, heading straight for the territories of the 3 great clans. In the territory of the Luo clan of Moxia, Ively, who had been taught a lesson, kept a low profile. Mo Xiaolua's blow had injured him badly, and he had yet to recover from it. In the main hall, Longfellow had an ominous premonition in his heart, and his brows were tightly knitted together. Strange, why do I suddenly have such a feeling? Is something going to happen? His expression was solemn, but he was also puzzled. Logically speaking, if something really happened, it was impossible for him to not have any news at all. Moreover, the Demon Emperor also did not send any orders. This was what Longfellow did not understand, because something that could make him feel ominous was most likely related to the entire Mo Xiaoluo clan. If he could sense it, the Demon Emperor would definitely sense it too. But until now, the Demon Emperor had not sent any messages. This made Longfellow even more puzzled. Ively, who was in a state of meditation, also came out of his cultivation state. He looked at Longfellow and told him about his encounter. "Did you sense anything wrong?" "You sensed it too?" Longfellow raised his eyebrows and immediately understood that things were not that simple. If he was the only one who sensed it, it could be said that it was an illusion. But now that even Ively sensed it, things were not simple. "Something is going to happen," Longfellow said in a low voice. His expression was extremely solemn. Seeing this, Ively's expression was not good either. Could it be that the Great Thousand World is attacking?
it's hard to say.
Since there are warning signs, something bad is going to happen. Although I don't know why the Demon Emperor hasn't sent any messages yet. But thinking about it, the Demon Emperor might have been stopped. Longfellow could no longer sit still. He immediately stood up from his throne. In the next second, he transformed into a huge Dharma idol. It was so big that the entire continent's evil void demons could see it. Everyone, prepare for battle. Demon kings who are in seclusion, come and see Ben Huang. The loud voice entered the ears of all the clansmen. Instantly, the continent started to shake. One after another, Demon King-level powerhouses walked out of seclusion and gathered in the main hall. The Mo Xiaolua clan had existed for countless years. Unless the evil void demons died halfway, there were not many who had truly exhausted their lifespan. Because the lifespan of the evil void demons was really very long. At the Demon King level, they could even live for tens of millions of years without dying. After so many years, it was easy to imagine how many Demon Kings the Mo Xiaolua clan had accumulated. When the Demon Kings came into being, the intertwining darkness even covered the entire continent.
Soon,
Incarnations appeared in the main hall one after another. Greetings, Demon Emperor Longfellow. When these Demon Kings saw Longfellow, they all bowed. But when they looked at Ively, their eyes were filled with bewilderment. Some of the Demon Kings knew Ively, while some were not. After all, he was only a Demon King in the past. For Demon Kings, it was normal for them not to know him. Seeing the puzzled eyes of the Demon Kings, Longfellow explained, "This is the new Demon Emperor Ively. In the previous battle, Troy fell. Now, Yelvis has reached the Demon Emperor realm. Therefore, Ively was personally ordered by the Demon Emperor to become one of the Demon Emperors in the clan." After a simple explanation, Longfellow said again, "This time, Ben Huang gathered all of you because there might be a greater thousand world attacking the clan. Now, all of you should prepare for battle. At the same time, send out scouts to scout for information. No matter what, you must report any abnormalities that you find. If you miss anything, you can come and receive your punishment. Understood?" Chapter 843. The Southern Heavenly Gate. It was still heavily guarded. As the gateway to the Heavenly Court, it would not relax even during a war. The Heavenly Mirror, which had been quietly placed above the Southern Heavenly Gate, suddenly flew into the air, attracting the attention of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals guarding here. "The Heavenly Mirror is moving. Quick, go and report it immediately." The expressions of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals suddenly changed. The Heavenly Mirror had been at the Southern Heavenly Gate for so long and had never moved. Now that it suddenly moved, no one knew what had happened. Just as they sent someone to report, the Heavenly Mirror had turned into a stream of light and flew directly into the sky above the Heavenly Court. A faint light flashed on the surface of the mirror, and a majestic voice came from it.
"Fight."
The word was like a clap of thunder, shaking the Heavenly Court. In the palace, Chu Kuangtu, who was in seclusion, suddenly opened his eyes. Countless saber chi burst out, crushing the void in front of him. The saber chi appeared quickly and disappeared quickly. Then, he rose to his feet and strode out of the room. When he walked outside, he happened to see the Heavenly Mirror floating in the air. "Is the war going to start?" Chu Kuangtu looked up at the Heavenly Mirror. The mirror was showing the scene when Qin Shujian was confronting several demon emperors. After a few breaths, the image disappeared. Niu Dali happened to walk out of the palace. He glanced at Chu Kuangtu indifferently and said calmly, "The Qin Emperor has sent a signal. The war is going to start." Obviously, the matter had reached a critical point. Otherwise, Qin Shujian would not send a signal. After all, they were all reincarnation Dao fruits and were on equal footing with the Qin Emperor. If it was not necessary, Qin Shujian would never bother them. Combined with the image in the Heavenly Mirror, it was not difficult for Niu Dali to see that the Emperor of Heaven was already fighting with the demon emperors. Chu Kuangtu looked back at the image just now with a strange expression. For demon emperors, has the Qin Emperor's strength improved again? In the last battle, the other party was almost killed when fighting 3 demon emperors. Looking at the situation now, he should be fighting against 4 demon emperors. The other party was really not afraid of being beaten to death by the 4 demon emperors before they arrived. The heaven-span mirror that was quietly floating in the air transformed into a stream of light and fled out of the heavenly court.
Go.
Xu Kuangtu said as he took a step forward and chased after the flowing light. Niu Dali did not reply, but his movements were not slower than Xu Kuangtu's. The passageway between heaven and earth. Shi Yang and the Thousand-Eye Emperor were guarding this place. Now that the heavenly court had started a war against the 3 great clans with all their might, they could not afford to lose the passageway of heaven and earth. No one could be sure that the void demons wouldn't bypass the army and directly attack the passageway. They were all prepared. If there was really an army of fiends from the void attacking them and they couldn't defend against it, they would directly destroy the passageway and close the greater thousand world temporarily. Since the passageway was closed, he could just open it again. But when it really came to that point, the foundation left behind in the outer region battlefield would be destroyed. Right at this moment, a streak of light flew over from the void. Who is it? Shi Yang, who was guarding the passageway of the great thousand world, suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying power erupted. However, before he could make a move, the streak of light had already taken the lead and escaped into the passageway of heaven and earth. The entire process happened in an instant.
So fast.
Shi Yang was shocked and stunned. What was this thing? How could it be so fast? Although he had not broken through to the middle 3 true immortals, his strength was already infinitely close. Even if a middle 3 true immortal were to face him, he was still confident that he could stop the other party. However, when facing the streak of light, Shi Yang found that he could not stop it in time. The speed was so fast that it could be said that he had never seen it before. It was too late to stop it. The streak of light disappeared into the passageway of heaven and earth. Just as Shi Yang was about to send a message to the Thousand-Eye Emperor at the other passageway, 2 more streaks of light came at the same time. Whoosh! In an instant, the 2 streaks of light disappeared into the passageway. Shi Yang, who had just taken out the jade talisman and did not have time to send a message, was already stunned on the spot. You've gone too far. After waking up, the veins on Shi Yang's forehead were bulging. When the 3 streaks of light entered the passageway of heaven and earth, they did not stop at all. The other party simply did not take him seriously. However, apart from being furious, there was also doubt in Shi Yang's eyes. He could not understand when there was such an expert in the great wide world that even he could not stop them in time. With such strength, they should be at least a top 6th true immortal. Could it be? Shi Yang thought of something. In addition to the gods, there were also other mysterious experts in the heavenly court. Xu Kuangtu and Niu Dali were one of them. However, even Xu Kuangtu and Niu Dali were only 2 people. There were 3 streaks of light just now. Before Shi Yang could be puzzled for long, there was a message from the heavenly court. The heavenly mirror ran away? Shi Yang was stunned, but he immediately felt relieved. If it was the heavenly mirror that ran away, then the streak of light just now was most likely the heavenly mirror. Then, with the 2 mysterious experts, there were exactly 3 streaks of light. On the other side, the Thousand-Eye Emperor, who was guarding the passageway of the extraterritorial battlefield, also had a similar experience as Shi Yang. The 3 streaks of light instantly flew away. It was not until those streaks of light completely disappeared from his sight that the Thousand-Eye Emperor finally reacted. There were only 3 question marks in the Thousand-Eye Emperor's mind now. Until now, he still did not know what was going on. In the endless void, the battle was still erupting. Qin Shu Jian held the God-Slayer in his hand, and the blade energy shattered the void as he fought the 4 demon emperors endlessly. Until now, neither side had a clear advantage in the battle. In this regard, Qin Shu Jian's expression was calm, and he still did not panic. However, the 4 demon emperors were shocked. Especially Bak, who was more shocked than anyone else. How could his strength be so much stronger? In the previous battle, although Qin Shu Jian was strong, he was not much stronger than him. If he had not used the verbal law at the crucial moment, coupled with the sneak attack of an expert, defeat was inevitable. But now Bachdo suddenly realized something. Qin Shujian's strength had unknowingly become extremely terrifying. It was completely different from the last time. This time, there was an additional demon emperor on his side. But even so, there was no way to gain an advantage. Bach was shocked, and Yurweis was now under a lot of pressure. He, who had just broken through to the demon emperor realm, participated in a battle of this level. Even if he teamed up with other demon emperors, the pressure he was under was not small at all. The Vietnam War, Yurweis was even more shocked. It was hard for him to imagine that there would be someone so strong that they could not take him down even with several demon emperors working together. Chapter 844. More than 1,000,000 years ago, the ancient heavenly court had once waged war against the demons of the void. That battle was also incomparably tragic. At that time, the 5 demon emperors joined forces, but they still couldn't contend against the Emperor of Heaven, Qin Song. In the end, they were beaten by Qin Song. Now, the 4 demon emperors joined forces, but they couldn't do anything to Qin Shujian. In terms of strength, there was still a certain gap between Qin Shujian and Qin Song, but this gap was already not big. In ancient times, although Yelvis was only a demon emperor and was not qualified to participate in the battle of the demon emperors, he had also witnessed the outbreak of that battle with his own eyes. He also didn't expect. The strength of the 2 Emperor of Heaven was so tyrannical. Boom! The saber shattered the dark tide. The Godslayer accumulated countless years of killing, as if incarnated into a terrifying demon god, instantly made the demon emperors feel cold all over.
Seeing this,
Baido pressed out a finger, and the dark power burst out like a star. In an instant, it annihilated the void and bombarded the long saber. The terrifying power spilled out, and the stone saber trembled. Suddenly, the void in front of him shattered like a mirror. A stream of light escaped from it, and in the blink of an eye, it fell into Qin Shujian's hand. Heavenly mirrors? Looking at the mirror in his hand, Qin Shujian suddenly poured his true essence into it. The mirror shone brightly, and a beam of yellow light burst out and fell on Mo Xiaolua's body. What is this? When the yellow light fell, Mo Xiaolua felt that his body was imprisoned by some kind of power, and his face immediately changed. The dark true essence burst out, and the shackles of power were directly shattered. But the moment of restraint had already allowed Qin Shujian to find an opportunity to attack. Just that, the remaining few Fiend Emperors would also not watch with folded arms. Before the Godslayer's attack arrived, the other Demon Emperor's attacks had already arrived, blocking it halfway. In an instant, the heavenly mirror shook a few more times, and countless yellow lights burst out, trying to imprison the other Demon Emperors. Seeing the yellow light fall, the Demon Emperors were all caught off guard, but they quickly recovered. The whole process didn't even take half an instant. What a pity! Seeing this, Qin Shujian muttered to himself. Unfortunately, the level of the heaven-reaching mirror was simply too low. It was only comparable to a 6th tribulation ancestral armament. If it was able to increase its level by 2 more levels, then, by relying on this treasure, he would be able to kill all 4 Demon Emperors. After all, the confinement attribute was not that easy to deal with. There's something wrong with that mirror. Don't let the yellow light touch it. Mo Xiaolua reminded sternly. At this time, another yellow light flew over. He had already taken the initiative to attack and shattered the yellow light. The yellow light shattered. The power of darkness surged like a tidal wave, attempting to completely drown Qin Shujian. Buzz! The void trembled slightly, and a flash of white light appeared out of thin air. It was like the light from the beginning of the world, and it easily tore apart the tide of darkness and continued to fly forward. Seeing that white light, Mo Xiaolua's heart shook wildly. He didn't even think about it before he retreated. However, Mo Xiaolua retreated quickly, but the white light flew even faster. There was no other way. Emo Shalua could only unleash all of his power and bombarded the white light. Rumble. Destructive fluctuations spread out, and the white light was finally annihilated. Emo Shalua looked in another direction with lingering fear and saw a man carrying a saber on his back, crossing the void. When Emo Shalua was attacked, on the other side, a warning sign rose in Yerways' heart. A huge ox hoof crushed the void and fell toward him. It was a simple hoof, but it seemed to have encompassed the entire universe, leaving him with no way to retreat. The attack he launched with all his might was instantly shattered when it touched the ox hoof.
Suddenly,
The ox hoof fell. Yerways' body almost collapsed. His body broke through countless voids and flew out directly. The entire process happened in the blink of an eye. By the time the other demon emperors reacted, Yerways had already been seriously injured.
suddenly,
Bok's face was gloomy, and he looked in another direction. "It's you again." He would never forget the scene when Chu Kwangtu and Nyo Dali launched a sneak attack on him. If it weren't for the two, he would not have suffered a crushing defeat in the last battle. However, although Bok was angry, there was also a very big warning sign in his heart. He clearly remembered that the two of them definitely did not break through to the Demon Emperor level last time. Now that they met again, their aura was completely in the Demon Emperor realm. In other words, including the two who suddenly arrived, the Heavenly Court already had 3 Demon Emperor level experts. Chu Kwangtu just glanced at him casually, and then his gaze fell on Qin Shujian. "How is it? I'm not late, am I? You came at the right time, but your Heaven-Earth slash has regressed a little. You were also an upper 3 true immortal, but you couldn't kill him." Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. Chu Kwangtu looked unhappy. "It's just that my strength hasn't fully recovered. Otherwise, why would I need to use the Heaven-Earth slash to deal with a little demon emperor?" Qin Shujian couldn't help but laugh. He didn't reply. Instead, he looked at the demon emperors who had ugly expressions on their faces. Previously, the 4 of you fought against one, using numbers to bully the weak. This battle can be considered to have completely resolved the feud between the vast Thousand World and the Void Demons. Now, between the two of us, only one can leave alive in the end. I didn't expect the Heavenly Court to have such a backup plan. It really surprised me. Bok's face was cold. He knew that there was no way to resolve today's matter. It was obvious. The Heavenly Court had long been prepared. The 2 extra demon emperors were completely beyond his expectations. Qin Shujian's strength was already strong enough. With the 4 demon emperors working together, they were not 100% sure that they could take him down. Now that the other party had 2 more helpers, the difficulty was even greater. If they really fought to the death, it was really hard to say who would win. However, Bok was not afraid in his heart. None of the experts who could become demon emperors were simple people. Moreover, he was the strongest among the demon emperors, and he would not be easily frightened. Moreover, the situation had reached this point, and there was no turning back. Suddenly, Emo Shalua was furious. "How dare you send people to attack my clan? Don't worry, the void demons of the 3 great clans will definitely not have a way out. You don't have to worry too much." Qin Shujian sneered. The other party must have left a backup plan, which was why they were aware that the Emo Shalua clan was being attacked. He had already expected this. After all, he had already sent out the message. Calculating the time, the Heavenly Court's army should have almost arrived at the 3 great clans. While Emo Shalua was furious, Yizo and Bachdo's expressions also changed slightly. Like Emo Shalua, they had also received the same message. Almost at the same time, the 3 great clans of the Void Demons had all been attacked by the Heavenly Court.
Kill.
Qin Shujian was too lazy to talk nonsense. He took the lead and charged toward Bok. Chapter 845. Leave Baido and Emo Shalua to me. Yizhua and Yelvis, you 2 deal with them quickly. After that, join forces to kill the remaining 2 top demon emperors. The moment Qin Shujian attacked, he also sent a voice transmission to the 2. Chu Kwangtu and Nyo Dali understood tacitly. When Yizhua and Yelvis were about to attack and block Qin Shujin's attack, they moved immediately. Your opponent is me. Chu Kuangtu took a step forward and blocked in front of Yizhua. His eyes were extremely indifferent. Looking at the demon emperors in front of him was no different from looking at ants. In fact, with Chu Kuangtu's identity in his previous life, an 8th-level immortal was indeed no different from an ant. Even if he was only a 7th-level immortal in this life, with the foundation of his previous life, it was more than enough to deal with Yizhua. When Yizhua was blocked, Niu Dali also stared at Yelvis. Kid, how does Master Niu's kick taste? He had a sarcastic smile on his face. Yelvis's face was gloomy and he did not reply. Although Niu Dali had only launched a sneak attack, the power of that kick still made him feel lingering fear. Boom! The power of darkness suddenly erupted and tore the void apart. It transformed into a huge palm and pressed down on Niu Dali. As the palm fell, there were very rich rules lingering. Seeing this, Niu Dali did not panic and punched out. Boom! The two collided and the dark palm was instantly shattered. The remaining force of the fist bombarded and shattered the void. They were both 7th-level immortals. Whether it was cultivation or strength, Niu Dali was not comparable to Yelvis. The gap between the two was like the gap between a 7th-level immortal and an 8th-level immortal. It was just a simple punch, but it was enough to make Yelvis retreat, causing his face to change color. In the past, Master Niu killed countless 3rd-level immortals. You, a little 7th-level immortal, dare to fight Master Niu. You're simply courting death. Now that you've given up, you can die a quick death. Stubbornly resisting, you'll die a horrible death. Niu Dali's posture was arrogant. He didn't reveal his true form and only fought in his human form. Every punch he threw could shatter the void within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. It was as if he could break through everything with brute force. After being idle for so long, he finally had a chance to attack. He was not in a hurry to kill Jervis. Instead, he approached him step by step to find some fun. On the other side, Chu Kuangtu was much more direct. Although he was only a 7th heaven immortal, as a reincarnation Dao fruit cultivator, his foundation was deep and profound. Ordinary 7th heaven immortals could not compare to him. In terms of true strength, he was comparable to an 8th heaven immortal.
Not only that,
he also had the divine tool, Hibernation Awakening, in his hands. Even if it was a 9th heaven celestial, he would still be able to put up a fight. In comparison, although Yizhua was a veteran 8th-level immortal, he was still nothing in front of Chu Kuangtu. Not long after the battle began, he fell into a disadvantageous position and was forced into a corner. The void buzzed as the invisible saber chi occupied it, causing Yizhua to feel a strong sense of alarm. There was no hesitation. He spread out his power and turned it into an absolute defensive domain. The next moment, the saber chi swept across and annihilated all the dark forces. Yizhua grunted, but he took this opportunity to launch an attack and destroy all the saber chi that surrounded him. At the same time, he retreated, trying to get out of the predicament in front of him. However, he retreated quickly, but Chu Kuangtu's attack was even faster. The hibernation saber slashed out, and a thunderous momentum made a strong roar in the void. The saber was fast. The attack was also swift and fierce. Before Yizhua could stabilize his body after retreating, the sharpness that tore through heaven and earth had already approached him, forcing him to use the Law Monument to resist.
Boom!
The Law Monument fell from the void, forcibly suppressing the void and scattering the shocking sharpness. Immediately afterward, Yizhua held the Law Monument with one hand and controlled the dark forces with the other. He was like a fiend god reincarnated, and his momentum was unparalleled. Seeing this, Chu Kuangtu sneered, "You've even used the Law Monument. It seems that you don't have any trump cards to speak of. In that case, I'll kill you." Arrogant. Yizhua simply replied. While speaking, the Law Monument had already pressed out. The Law Monument was a cultivator's fatal weakness, but it was also a powerful weapon. Unless it was absolutely necessary, No one would use the law monument to fight. Once the law monument was used, it meant that the situation had reached an irreversible point. Therefore, at this moment, Yizhuo already had the idea of killing Chu Kuangtu. If he couldn't suppress Chu Kuangtu in this battle, the three major clans of the Void Demons might become history. The law monument fell. The rich power of the law was like the might of the heavens, making one's expression change. Chu Kuangtu's words were full of disdain, but when faced with the power of this blow, he still had great vigilance. The hibernation saber let out a pleasant sound. Mysterious laws surged out of his body, lingering in his physical body, and then flowed along his arm like a stream, converging into the saber. At that moment, the saber emitted a dazzling light. Chu Kuangtu's eyes burst out with a cold light. He took a step forward, as if he had shrunk the endless distance into an inch, and the saber he held in both hands had already been slashed down fiercely. Boom! The long saber wrapped in infinite power of the law monument heavily struck the law monument. The divine weapon, which was comparable to a Khanate supreme treasure, coupled with Chu Kuangtu's own strong strength, instantly cracked the law monument. The law monument cracked. Yizhuo's body seemed to have been struck by lightning. The vibrating power was transmitted to him through the monument, and it actually cracked his physical body. Today, you should die. Chu Kuangtu's eyes were extremely cold. The long saber was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, which had already made Yizhuo feel great fear. To be able to become a Dao fruit expert, he had experienced countless battles. Not to mention the Saber Master's killing intent. As the Saber Master, Chu Kuangtu was naturally a decisive person. He was not like Niodali, who liked to play around. He only wanted to end the battle quickly. Therefore, the battle had only been going on for less than half a day. Yizhuo had fallen into an absolute disadvantage. Boom! A cracked monument of laws appeared in front of him, blocking the shocking saber light. Before he could make his next move, a beam of yellow light broke through the air and instantly fixed him in place. Kill him quickly. A cold voice, like a demon's voice, entered Yizhuo's ears, and his face suddenly turned pale. Without waiting for him to react, Chu Kuangtu found the opportunity, and the long saber was already close to his body. Even a body as strong as the Demon Emperor's was useless in front of a top-notch divine weapon. There was no doubt that Yizhuo's body was split in two by the long saber. The moment his body was split, it turned into endless darkness, trying to escape toward the endless void. However, Chu Kuangtu had long been prepared. How could he give Yizhuo a chance to escape? The long saber slashed out in an instant, as sharp as the beginning of heaven and earth. That shocking saber had once again appeared in the world. The saber slash of heaven and earth. Chapter 846. Heaven and Earth Slash. At his peak, he could kill a Dao fruit. At present, Chu Kuangtu was not at his peak, but there was no problem for him to kill a seriously injured Demon Emperor. The sharp light that seemed like the beginning of heaven and earth swept past, setting off endless light and swallowing all the darkness. Yizhuo let out a shrill scream and completely disappeared in the saber light. Finally, a resplendent crystal fell from the sky. It was also the moment Yizhuo died. Inside the Yizhuo clan, because the Heavenly Court's army had attacked, the originally peaceful continent was completely occupied by war. In the center of the continent, there was a stone statue that was 1,000,000 feet tall. That was the symbol of the Demon Emperor. At this time, countless cracks first appeared on the huge stone statue, and then it shattered with a bang. Under the horrified gaze of many Yizhuo clan members, the stone statue collapsed. The stone statue collapsed. The Demon Emperor has fallen. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could the Demon Emperor fall? Impossible. It's over. The Demon Emperor has fallen. We are completely finished, the people of the Yizhuo clan wailed. In their eyes, the Demon Emperor was their spiritual support. As long as the Demon Emperor did not fall, even if they fell into a great disadvantage, there was hope for a comeback. Because as long as the Demon Emperor existed, there would be a clan. But now that the Demon Emperor had fallen, it was undoubtedly impossible for the clan to be safe and sound.
Suddenly,
Many void demons' hearts fell to the freezing point, and they almost directly gave up resistance and obediently waited for death. Don't panic, the Demon Emperor did not fall. It's just that some thieves secretly used some means to destroy the stone statue. Kill Ben Huang with all your strength. Kill all the thieves. The Demon Emperor is now in seclusion, and it won't be long before he comes out. At that time, all the invaders will die. Gar roared sternly. In fact, he knew best whether the Demon Emperor had fallen or not. But in the current situation, he absolutely could not let the news of the Demon Emperor's fall spread, otherwise the Yizo clan would be completely finished. Only by fighting to the death could they have a way to survive, although this way was slim. Until now, Gar was actually in a state of confusion. Everything was fine. Without any warning, the Heavenly Court's army went straight to his clan. Moreover, according to the news from other places, the other two clans were also besieged by the Heavenly Court. It could be said that this decisive battle erupted out of nowhere. Because they were not prepared, the Yizo clan fell into a disadvantage not long after the battle began. Jarl's current state was not good enough. His strength was not considered top-notch among the Devil Emperors, and he was only about the same as a fifth heaven immortal in the great wide world. Such a realm. Among all the Demon Emperors, he was neither the most powerful nor the weakest. Seriously speaking, he was passable. It was just that Garland's opponent was not a simple character. One of them was the West Spirit Monarch, Si Hanhai, who was at the peak of the fifth heaven immortal realm, and the other was the East Sun Monarch, Xiao Zhuge. As the imperial emperors of the five directions, they were blessed by the providence of the Heavenly Court. Now, they were working together. Even a top-notch demon emperor would not have any chance of winning. In particular, as the devil ruler, Si Hanhai was the nemesis of the void devils. When he had the upper hand, he could expand it even more. When he was comforting the people just now, Jarl was almost beaten to death by the two imperial emperors. Si Hanhai pushed him back with a palm, and his face was full of a cold smile. You still have the time to comfort the people? Yizo is dead, and your clan has no hope. What you are doing now is just stubbornly resisting. Yizo is going to die, you're going to die, and the entire Yizo clan is going to die. Misleading the people with lies. Jarl was so angry that he laughed, and he was not moved at all. Since things had come to this, he did not have any scruples. The Heavenly Court's army had split into three directions, and it was obviously not a small matter. In this battle, he would either defeat the Heavenly Court's army or die here. As for escaping, Garland looked at the boundless army around him and dismissed the idea. He could not escape, and there was no need to escape. If the entire clan were to be wiped out, what would he be able to do as the Demon Emperor? It would be fine if he was a Devil Emperor, but unfortunately, he was only a Devil Emperor. Even if my Yizo clan is destroyed in this battle, Ben Huang will make your Heavenly Court pay in blood. Jarl did not move, and after taking a punch from the Dog Emperor, he threw out a punch with all his might. The Dog Emperor was caught off guard and coughed up blood. Trade injury for injury. Trade life for life. As the Dog Emperor coughed up blood and retreated, Jarl rushed forward and furiously attacked the Dog Emperor. He even ignored Si Hanhai's attacks. He knew very well that he was the only Demon Emperor in the Yizo clan, and he would lose without a doubt if he continued to fight. The only thing he could do now was to risk his life and kill a powerful enemy. If he could force the enemy to retreat, that would be the best result. Of course. Jarl also knew that the chances of the enemy retreating were very slim.
Boom.
Boom. The three emperors fought fiercely in the air above the continent. Their vast power swept through the endless void, causing many experts to pale and having no choice but to retreat. 2 days passed.
Boom.
An earth-shattering sound rang out. Soon after, a wave of destruction spread out in a vast and mighty manner. Si Hanhai and the Dog Emperor, who were at the center of the explosion, flew out instantly as if they were struck by lightning. The destructive power destroyed the defensive treasures on their bodies one by one. Then it acted on their bodies. Their powerful physical bodies. Under the bombardment of the destructive power, they began to crack inch by inch. But soon, vitality emerged from their bodies and healed their injuries. The whole process repeated for a long time before the destructive power was completely offset. Phew! The dog emperor exhaled softly, his body weakened to the extreme. At the end of the battle, Jarl decided to self-destruct, and there was no way to dodge. Fortunately, he had enough treasures on him, so he was able to offset the power of the explosion. Then, he relied on his own foundation to offset the remaining power. After catching his breath, the dog emperor looked at Si Hanhai in the other direction. Is Emperor Shiling alright?
He won't die.
If he's self-destructed as a 6th-level immortal, I might have died. But he's only a 5th-level immortal, so he can't kill me. Si Hanhai wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes scarlet. Then, he turned to look at the remaining void demons. Jarl has fallen, and the cultivators of the 10,000 races have surrounded him. We can't let any void demons escape. Today is the day to destroy the Yizo clan. As soon as he finished speaking, Si Hanhai's figure moved, already charging towards a devil king. In order to offset the power of the explosion, he had consumed a lot of energy, and now he urgently needed to devour a demon king to replenish his body. Chapter 847. Yizo had fallen. The remaining few demon emperors were horrified. Especially the 2 demon emperors, Baido and Mo Shelua. They did not expect that Yizo, one of the veteran demon emperors, would fall so quickly. In less than a day's time, he had completely died in the hands of Chu Kuangtu. At the level of demon emperors, it was not easy to determine the winner in a short period of time. It was even more difficult to determine life and death. However, Yizo still fell. The process of his fall was so fast that the other demon emperors had no chance to react. At this moment, Qin Shujian was suppressing the 2 demon emperors, Baido and Mo Shelua, with his own strength. Without the interference of Yelvis and Yizo, the remaining 2 demon emperors were no match for him at all. Not long after the battle began, Qin Shujian had already gained the upper hand. It was just that it was not so easy to kill the 2 demon emperors. After all, the upper hand was just a certain advantage. Yizo has fallen, and you will soon. Qin Shujian laughed out loud. When the stone knife in his hand slashed down, the sky-reaching mirror reflected a yellow light, trying to imprison the 2 demon emperors.
Bang!
The dark power erupted. Baido shattered all the yellow light with a punch, his face gloomy. On the other side, Mo Shelua also launched an attack at the same time, blocking the power of Godslayer. The 2 demon emperors did not reply. Now they really had nothing to say. With the fall of Yizo, the demon emperors on both sides were now equal. And judging from the fact that Chu Kuangtu was able to kill Yizo, the strength of the heavenly court was much stronger than their own side. If they really had to fight to the death, the probability of their defeat was almost 100%. Thinking of this, the 2 forces shattered the void. Baido and Mo Shelua did not look back and fled into the void behind them. If things were not going to work, then they would retreat first. As long as they did not fall, the heavenly court would have scruples. But once they fell here, then from then on, there would no longer be a place for the void demons to stand in the void. For these things, whether it was Bach or Moxiaro, both of them could see it clearly. The retreat of the 2 demon emperors was very sudden, and their movements were also extremely fast. Even Qin Shujian was almost unable to react in time. All of a sudden, a heavy bell rang out. Wherever the sound of the bell reached, the space immediately condensed, causing Baido and Mo Shelua's figures to involuntarily pause. But very quickly, the 2 demon emperors released a powerful energy that instantly broke through the seal. Just as they were about to continue fleeing, Qin Shujian had already seized the opportunity to approach the 2 demon emperors. At the same time, the heaven-penetrating mirror emitted a yellow light, and 2 beams of yellow light landed on the 2 demon emperors. Their bodies, which had already been freed from the shackles, once again fell into a temporary stagnation. At this moment, an ancient bronze bell fell from the void. The huge bell seemed to be able to suppress the endless void as it smashed towards Emo Shalua.
Boom.
Emo Shalua attacked with his palm, causing the Tiandi bell to wail. The powerful bell trembled violently a few times before it was sent flying. The strength of a top demon emperor was not something that a 6th Tribulation Zhu Bang level treasure could compare to. However, it was not that easy for Emo Shalua to break the Tiandi bell. When he attacked, Qin Shujian's attack had already arrived. But the target of the attack was not Emo Shalua himself, but Baido, who was beside him. Boom! The blade slashed down, and a strong killing power lingered, causing Bahido's expression to change drastically. The mighty long river of rules blasted out like a tide, and a rule monument suddenly descended. When the two collided, the blade shattered, and the long river of rules was also torn apart, causing the rule monument to shake violently. Baido was shocked by the power and immediately retreated. Qin Shujian's left hand poured the vital essence into the heaven-penetrating mirror, and the mirror flew into the air. The originally palm-sized heaven-penetrating mirror became 10,000 feet large, floating in the void. Yellow light burst out from the mirror, covering the two demon emperors.
Then,
he took a step forward and came to the Tiandi bell's side. He punched out heavily, and the bell trembled violently, and a heavy sound suddenly came out.
Dong!
The sound of the bell came out, and the hundreds of millions of miles of the void shattered inch by inch like a mirror, completely disappearing under the sound of the bell. As the main targets of the Tiandi bell's attack, Baido and Emo Shalua's bodies also shook violently. Before they could react, a blade light came from an infinite distance across the void, symbolizing the signal of death and warning them of death in their hearts. Chu Kuangtu. Looking at the blade light, Baido held the rule monument and immediately destroyed the sound of the bell. His right hand clenched into a fist and blasted out, and a long river of rules across the void poured down like a waterfall. Boom! The fist collided with the blade light, and when the blade light disappeared, the fist was also torn. But no blood flowed from the torn fist, and in less than a breath, it recovered. Chu Kuangtu was shocked by the power of the rebound, and his blood and qi were surging. However, in an instant, he managed to suppress the surging qi and blood in his body.
Then,
Chu Kuangtu's body moved, and he was already behind the two demon emperors. In the void, the two demon emperors, Baido and Emo Shalua, stood in the middle. In front of them was Qin Shujian, and behind them was Chu Kuangtu. In addition, there were also the Tiandi bell and the sky-reaching mirror, two supreme treasures that could imprison. They were eyeing covetously in the void, looking for an opportunity to strike at all times. The scene was momentarily. They were in a disadvantageous situation. You can't escape. Chu Kuangtu stood with his blade, and the divine weapon that used to be simple and unadorned was now full of sharpness. Traces of blade qi were fluctuating, and it was like a terrifying beast, staring at the enemy. Hearing that, the two demon emperors' faces became even more unsightly. They couldn't escape? With their strength under normal circumstances, it was absolutely no problem to escape. It was just that Emo Shalua glanced at the Tiandi bell and the sky-reaching mirror with fear. He didn't expect that these two supreme treasures could be so powerful. Although there was no way these two supreme treasures could pose a big threat to him with real means, the imprison method was really disgusting. His plans several times. It was all destroyed by the imprison of these two supreme treasures. Now, his side was in such a disadvantageous situation. Blade Master, hold the line. Leave the rest to me. Be sure not to let them find a chance to escape. No problem. Chu Kuangtu heard that and immediately retreated a distance. He understood what Qin Shujian meant. He wanted to kill the two demon emperors with his own strength. Although in his eyes, the probability of Qin Shujian killing the two demon emperors was not high. However, Chu Kuangtu still didn't question anything. Chapter 848. If Qin Shujian wanted to fight, then let him fight. In the current situation, the demons of the void had no room to maneuver. Yizhou had fallen. Among the remaining 3 demon emperors, Yurwei's was about to be toyed with by Niudali. They were both reincarnation Dao fruits. Niudali's strength was not much weaker than his. Chu Kuangtu's view on this point was more objective. Although Yurwei's had broken through to the demon emperor realm, his true cultivation was only at the level of a 7th-level immortal. Not to mention Baido and Mo Xiaoluo, even compared to Yizhou, there was a big gap. In contrast, although Niudali did not have a divine weapon like Awakening Jellyfish, but with his strength, there was no problem in dealing with a demon emperor who had just broken through. The whole battle. It was not a slaughter, but it could be said to be a crushing defeat. The remaining trouble. Only Baido and Mo Xiaoluo were left. When Chu Kuangtu retreated, Qin Shujian had already made his move. The Tiandi bell rang, echoing violently in the void. There was also the heaven-reaching mirror that illuminated the entire world. Beams of yellow light shot out, enough to imprison even demon emperors. The 2 demon emperors, Baido and Mo Xiaoluo, were suddenly forced into a corner. Their strength. They were not as good as Qin Shujian. Even if the Tiandi bell did not appear before, they were still at a disadvantage. Now with the Tiandi bell, the disadvantage was even more obvious. Moreover, Yizhou's death and Chu Kuangtu's suppression had put them under a lot of pressure.
Boom, boom, boom.
In the void, Qin Shujian's body emitted endless Taoist rhymes. The Godslayer's body emitted a biting cold light, and the extremely sharp attack could easily tear apart the demon emperor's attack. Another slash was made, and the dark power was destroyed. Mo Xiaoluo groaned, and his body suddenly turned into a black fog, covering the sky and the sun. In an instant, his body could not be seen clearly. Only the black fog could be seen. In the blink of an eye, it came in front of Qin Shujian. When the black fog fell, it immediately entered his body and invaded his sea of consciousness. Qin Shujian did not stop it, allowing the black fog to invade his knowledge sea. At this time, the investiture of the gods in his spiritual sea suppressed everything. When the black fog entered, the investiture of the gods shone brightly. All of the black fog seemed to have met a terrifying enemy and retreated. Immediately after, the black fog was completely expelled, and it melted away inch by inch like winter snow meeting the sun. The black fog dissipated. Soon, Mo Xiaoluo's figure was reformed. But the difference was that Mo Xiaoluo's face was a little pale at this moment, as if he had suffered a serious injury. What the hell is that? A puny demon emperor dares to invade my sea of consciousness? What a joke. Qin Shujian smiled disdainfully. The Void Fiend's greatest technique was to invade a cultivator's sea of consciousness and seize their body. If it were any other ninth heaven celestial, no matter how powerful they were, they still wouldn't dare to allow the other party to invade their territory. But he was different. Qin Shujian, as a reincarnation Dao fruit, had a strong foundation. Coupled with the investiture of the gods in his sea of consciousness, how could a demon emperor do whatever he wanted?
So,
as early as when Mo Xiaoluo was at the end of his rope and wanted to invade his sea of consciousness, it was no different from taking the initiative to die. That is, the other party retreated quickly enough. Or else, Qin Shujian could make the other party completely fall in his sea of consciousness. Failed to seize his body. Mo Xiaoluo suffered a lot of injuries. Qin Shujian looked for an opportunity, and the biting cold offensive broke out again. In front, the heavenly tribulation was vast and mighty. It had been a long time since Zhou Tian's star map went through the tribulation. Several sides fought. They all consciously avoided Zhou Tian's star map in order to not be affected by the thunder tribulation.
now,
The heavenly tribulation was finally coming to an end. When the last bolt of lightning struck, the heavenly cycle star map suddenly emitted countless rays of light, illuminating the originally colorless void in a dazzling manner. In an instant, there seemed to be a river of stars flowing. Countless stars appeared in the vast river of stars, and there were also powerful and terrifying star beasts standing on the stars, roaring at the sky. All kinds of strange phenomena. It immediately attracted the attention of many experts. The Thousand-Eye Emperor, who was sitting cross-legged at the entrance of the passageway, suddenly opened his eyes. Immediately, he stood up and turned his head to look at the scene outside the extraterritorial battlefield. He saw a river of stars flowing in the sky, causing the empty space to become bright. What is this thing? The Thousand-Eye Emperor was shocked. He had never seen a river of stars in the extraterritorial void because the void was dry. Even if there were stars, there was no way to light up the void. Compared to the vast extraterritorial void, the number of stars was really too few. The sudden scene in front of him gave the Thousand-Eye Emperor a bad premonition. He was not sure what the hell was going on. But there was one thing that the Thousand-Eye Emperor could understand. This scene that could affect the extraterritorial void was not something a mere third heaven immortal like him could deal with. He wanted to send a message, but just as he took out his jade talisman, the Thousand-Eye Emperor paused. The reason for that was because he suddenly recalled something. All the experts in the Heavenly Court had gone to attack the 3 fiendish demon clans in the extraterritorial battlefield, and he was already one of the top experts left. This way, the Thousand-Eye Emperor realized that he could not find the person he wanted to send a message to. As for sending a message to Qin Shu Jian, Zhao Emperor, and the others, he could not send it that far with the communication jade talisman. After thinking about this, the Thousand-Eye Emperor immediately took a deep breath. Good heavens, so I am the strongest person in the Heavenly Court now. Suddenly, he became the pillar of the extraterritorial battlefield, and he instantly felt an immense pressure. At this moment, the river of stars was still bright. There was even starlight that spread to the extraterritorial battlefield. Some of the cultivators who did not follow the extraterritorial battlefield to the extraterritorial battlefield were also bewildered after seeing such a phenomenon. They had no choice but to come forward to ask, "May I ask, Star Lord, where did this extraterritorial battlefield come from? Should we deal with it?" A cultivator came forward and cupped his hands in greeting when he saw the Thousand-Eye Emperor. Hearing this, the Thousand-Eye Emperor calmed himself down and said loudly, "There is no need to panic about the extraterritorial battlefield. I will deal with everything. Just send the order to the remaining people to be on guard. What we should do now is to prevent the extraterritorial battlefield from sneaking in. Don't worry too much about the rest for now." "We understand." After the cultivators who came forward heard the Thousand-Eye Emperor's words, they immediately calmed down and cupped their hands before leaving. After these people left, the Thousand-Eye Emperor heaved a sigh of relief and turned his head to look at the extraterritorial battlefield again. He was already praying in his heart. Chapter 849. Please don't let anything happen. I'm just a small level 3 immortal. I can't carry too many things. The Thousand-Eye Emperor sighed. Before the Heavenly Court appeared, perfected immortals were top figures, enough to suppress a state and a race. But now, even someone as strong as a level 3 immortal did not have enough confidence. Those who had the qualifications to suppress what had happened recently had to be at least a level 3 true immortal. The Thousand-Eye Emperor took a few deep looks at the galaxy. After confirming that there were no other disadvantages, he gradually relaxed. If it was a phenomenon, so be it. As long as it did not threaten the extraterritorial battlefield, it did not matter how many anomalies there were. But before the Thousand-Eye Emperor could completely relax, he sensed that something was wrong. Oh no! There's a strange movement in the ancient star. The Thousand-Eye Emperor's gaze moved away from the galaxy and landed on the ancient star that was quietly floating outside the extraterritorial battlefield. Those ancient stars were still being bombarded by light pillars, constantly providing energy to the great Thousand World. As an immortal god of the Heavenly Court, he naturally knew what existed in the ancient star. It was an existence that sealed many terrifying star beasts. However, the ancient star had existed for so many years without any strange movements. It only silently contributed to the Great Thousand World. As time passed, others did not pay much attention to these ancient stars. But now, the Thousand-Eye Emperor discovered that the originally calm ancient star had started to gently tremble at some unknown time, as if something had awakened from a deep slumber. It also seemed like something was attacking the star, wanting to break out of its cocoon. According to the Emperor of Heaven, there are powerful star beasts sealed in the ancient star. The weakest one is a level 3 true immortal. If it really breaks out of the seal, with the current extraterritorial battlefield, there's absolutely no chance of resisting it. The Thousand-Eye Emperor's expression changed drastically. The worst outcome had happened. Now that all the forces of the Heavenly Court were attacking the Void Demons, the Great Thousand World and the extraterritorial battlefield had fallen into the weakest state since the establishment of the Heavenly Court. If the star beasts broke out of the seal, then the extraterritorial battlefield would definitely be destroyed. Cultivators of all races, be on guard. The Thousand-Eye Emperor did not dare to hesitate and immediately took a step into the air. The appearance of his huge Dharma body attracted the attention of the cultivators of all races. Immediately, after the cultivators left behind heard the voice, they all entered a state of alert. There were even experts from the various clans who came to find the Thousand-Eye Emperor to ask about the situation. Tai-Bai jinxing, what happened? There are strange movements in the ancient stars. There are powerful star beasts sealed inside. I suspect that those star beasts want to take this opportunity to break out of the seal and come out. The Thousand-Eye Emperor had an ugly expression on his face. He was no longer able to remain calm, if not for the fact that he was the strongest here. If the others needed him to boost their morale, the Thousand-Eye Emperor could not be bothered to hide his emotions. An expert asked, could it be that even Star Lords have no way to deal with star beasts? In their eyes, the Thousand-Eye Emperor was already very powerful. After all, no matter what, he was still an immortal god of the Heavenly Court. His strength was not something an ordinary true immortal could compare to. The Thousand-Eye Emperor sneered when he heard that. The weakest of the star beasts in the ancient stars are at least middle 3 heavens true immortals. Only the 5 great imperial emperors and the 4 great war gods can match them. Some of the stronger star beasts are even upper 3 heavens true immortals. Apart from the Emperor of Heaven, no one else in the Heavenly Court can deal with them. I am only one of the Heavenly Court's Zhou Tian constellations. I have not even become a 4th heavens true immortal. How can I be a match for them? The weakest star beast in the ancient stars was a 4th heavens true immortal. Although the Thousand-Eye Emperor had not seen it with his own eyes, Qin Shu Jian could not be wrong. Although he was very confident in himself, if he really wanted to deal with a middle 3 heavens true immortal, even the weakest 4th heavens true immortal was far from enough. When the experts of the myriad races heard that, his originally normal complexion instantly turned ghastly pale. The strange movements in the ancient stars were not a big deal to them. After all, even if the sky collapsed, there were still tall people to hold it up. But according to the Thousand-Eye Emperor, this was an existence that even the other party could not fight against. Then what should we do? A demon expert asked anxiously. Staying behind to guard was originally the safest, but now it seemed that it might be the most dangerous. If the star beasts were to appear, then everyone would have to die together. The Thousand-Eye Emperor looked at him disdainfully and then said indifferently, "Don't panic. Your temperament is still like this after cultivating for so many years. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to break through to the true immortal realm in the future." After being reprimanded for no reason, the demon expert did not dare to get angry. He only nodded and smiled apologetically.
Seeing that,
The Thousand-Eye Emperor spoke again. Right now, the experts of the Heavenly Court are attacking the Void Demons. The forces left behind are not enough to deal with the star beasts that are about to break out of the seal. However, there are only some strange movements in the ancient stars. It is still unknown whether the star beasts will really break out of the seal. Therefore, I think that the various clans should stay where they are first. It would be best if they can hold on until the Emperor's return. If not, when the star beasts break out of the seal, all of you will retreat back to the upper-class world. I will then break the passage of heaven and earth. As for the extraterritorial battlefield, we will temporarily abandon it. At that time, the extraterritorial battlefield would be gone. Besides, if there were no living beings left in the extraterritorial battlefield, those star beasts that broke out of the seal might not be so crazy as to destroy all the cities. When the experts of the 10,000 clans heard this, they felt relieved. With a way out, there was nothing to be afraid of. When the passage of heaven and earth was broken, even the demon emperor was not qualified to break it with the power of the barrier. No matter how strong the star beasts were, they could not be stronger than the demon emperor. In this way, as long as they hid in the upper-class world, they could basically be guaranteed to be safe. After the Thousand-Eye Emperor finished explaining, he waved his hand.
Go.
The cultivators of the various clans should gather. Don't panic. You must be able to retreat as soon as possible when the star beasts break out of the seal. If you really can't retreat in time, don't blame me for being ruthless. After all, the lives of a small number of cultivators are not qualified to be compared to the lives of all the cultivators in the extraterritorial battlefield, and they're not qualified to put the upper-class world in danger. His words were very straightforward. If it really reached the point of no return, they should retreat immediately. Those who dilly-dallied and could not retreat in time should just stay in the extraterritorial battlefield. Sacrificing a small number of people was better than sacrificing the majority. We understand. The experts of the 10,000 clans did not object. After receiving the order, they turned around and left to start making arrangements. Just as the cultivators of the 10,000 clans began to prepare, the Thousand-Eye Emperor also took out his communication jade talisman and sent the news to Shiyang in the upper-class world that the star beasts might be about to break out of the seal and his future plans. Chapter 850. In the void, all kinds of strange phenomena gradually disappeared. A formation map lay there quietly. It looked simple and unadorned, but in fact, it had infinite power. Dong! The Tiandi bell rang. The two demon emperors, Baido and Emo Xiaolua, were struck by lightning. In the next second, the sky-piercing mirror shone, imprisoning the two demon emperors in place. Qin Shujian took a step forward. The God Slayer slashed out with the force of splitting the sky, trying to kill the two in one fell swoop. When the blade energy was about to reach them, the two demon emperors broke through the blockade. Each used their own means to forcibly shatter the blade energy, but at the same time, they also suffered a considerable impact. After a muffled groan, they retreated. Qin Shujian suddenly shouted angrily, "Map come!" As soon as he finished speaking, a formation map broke through the air. He grabbed Zhou Tian's star map with one hand and poured his vital essence into it. In an instant, the stars in the formation map seemed to come alive. The bright galaxy surged. Qin Shujian suddenly threw Zhou Tian's star map hard. The formation map flew into the air, and the galaxy inside fell like a waterfall, trying to drown the two demon emperors. "You want to kill me? Impossible!" Baido roared. His right hand clenched into a fist and blasted out. The long river of rules broke through the air and collided with the galaxy. The two bombarded. The long river of rules seemed to have encountered an unbearable pressure and suddenly collapsed from the middle. At that moment, Baido coughed up blood and retreated. On the other side, Emo Xiaolua caught up. He also used his own strength to resist and barely blocked the galaxy. The two demon emperors couldn't recover. The heavenly cycle star diagram suddenly changed again. The originally 3-meter-long formation diagram seemed to have become boundlessly large, and a world quietly materialized in it. Dazzling stars were born in the void.
Then,
they were linked together. A terrifying amount of star power permeated the void. What is this thing? Quick, break the stars. Bahido's face was a little puzzled, but Emo Xiaolua's face had changed greatly. He would never be able to forget the scene of him almost killing himself back then. The scene in front of him was so similar to that scene. But there was a difference. At this moment, the stars in the sky gave Emo Shallow even more pressure. Because he had never truly entered Zhou Tian's Great Stars Array, Bok Du was not clear about the changes in the array. But when he saw Emo Shallowa's ugly expression, he knew that things were not going well. Therefore, without waiting for the other party to say a second sentence, he had already made the first move, and a torrent of darkness bombarded one of the stars.
Boom.
The star shook, but there was no sign of it being destroyed. At this moment, outside the planet, Qin Shujian took a step forward, and the Tiandi Bell and the heaven-penetrating mirror landed at the center of the formation. Stepping on Zhou Tian's star map, he looked down at the two demon emperors who were already surrounded and uttered a few words. Zhou Tian Great Star Formation Rise. After saying this, the stars in the sky suddenly moved, emitting boundless light. The changes in the array made the two demon emperors bewildered. Right at this moment, the stars changed, and the stars moved. Countless stars fell from the sky, as if the world was about to be destroyed. The aura of destruction had already filled the great array. Seeing this, Emo Shallow did not intend to take it head-on. Instead, he took a step forward, wanting to leave the place. However, as soon as his body moved, he immediately went in the opposite direction. He should have avoided the falling stars, but he took the initiative to meet them. Without hesitation, there was no panic. Emo Shallow punched out, and the rich power of darkness was like a torrent, bombarding the falling stars.
Suddenly,
the stars collapsed. But Emo Shallow's face did not show any joy. That was because he had only shattered one star, and there were countless stars falling from the sky. When the first star was shattered, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The other stars had already descended with a loud rumble.
Bang!
Bok originally wanted to avoid it, but he met it head-on. The strong drop made him bear the impact of a star. That destructive power caused his body to explode. But the Fiend Emperor's recovery ability was extremely strong. His exploded fleshly body completely recovered in an instant. I want to retreat, but in fact I want to advance. It seems that there is some kind of opposite rule here. In this way, as long as I advance, I can retreat. Bok had an idea in his heart, and he really put it into action. However, boom. Looking at the star that had smashed into him, Bachdo's face was filled with astonishment. What's going on? What happened? He had clearly figured out the rule of the array, but the truth was just the opposite. Just when he wanted to retreat, he suddenly moved forward. But when he moved forward, he really moved forward. Once again, he was hit by the star. That violent power almost smashed Bok half to death. On the other side, Emo Shallow's situation was not much better. Because of the strange rule in Zhou Tian's Great Star Array, there was no way to avoid the stars. He could only rely on his own strength to block all the falling stars. Outside the array, Qin Shujian looked at the scene inside, and there was a faint smile on his face. With a wave of his hand, his sleeve swept across the body of the Tiandi Bell.
Dong!
The bell rang, destroying everything. The void in the array collapsed, and the phantom of a big bell appeared. The terrible bell reverberated, and the two demon emperors almost vomited blood. The next moment, Qin Shujian waved his hand again. Heaven and earth overturn. With a thought, the heaven and earth in Zhou Tian's Great Star Array changed. The power of extreme yin and extreme yang was born, and they intertwined to form the Great Millstone of Annihilation. The formless Great Millstone of Annihilation moved. The two demon emperors sensed it, and they immediately used their own strength to block it, but it was useless. In an instant, the power of darkness collapsed, and their bodies were destroyed inch by inch under the power of the Great Millstone of Annihilation. No matter how strong their vitality was, there was no way to recover. Heavens illuminate. Qin Shujian softly said a few words, and the array changed again. The stars in the heavens crossed the sky, and the power of the stars bloomed like rainbows. Endless starlight shone on the world, and the dazzling colors fell on the two demon emperors like poison. Their powerful bodies slowly melted away in the starlight. No, Bok's face was filled with fear. He found that under the starlight, his body was slowly disappearing like a black fog. The shadow of death had completely blinded him. Although he had lived for countless years, when it came to this, he could not help but be afraid of death. While he was fearful, he also felt helpless. Ever since he fell into Zhou Tian's great star array, he found that he was not a demon emperor, but a weak, ordinary cultivator who was at the mercy of the array. Emo Shalua, who was at the side, was not much better. Most of their strength had already been consumed earlier, so they had no way to resist at all. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.